Hello, everyone, and welcome you all to the first chapter of the Davinci Resolve tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number one as we are getting started with Davinci Resolve over here. So first I'll be giving you guys an introduction to what Davinci Resolve is, how you will be able to get benefited with the use of Davinci Resolve in your video editing work. So we'll be learning about all of this over here into this particular chapter. So let's not waste time and let's get started. So over here on my screen, as you guys can see that we'll be getting started with DaVinci Resolve and it is a beginner's guide. Okay. So if you don't have any previous experience in DaVinci Resolve or any kind of video editing software, this is a perfect course for you because you will be able to video edit your video. You will be able to do a lot of things like color grading. There are different features in DaVinci Resolve like Fusion, okay, which is not available in other video editing software. So we'll be talking about all of these things over here. So let's see what are the usage of this DaVinci Resolve. So here, welcome you all to the DaVinci Resolve, and in this guide, we'll be basically exploring the basics of DaVinci Resolve for video editing. So as I was telling that whether you are a beginner or you're looking to switch from another software, okay? So let's say you were using Adobe Premiere Pro before, okay? So that is a video editing software as well. Now you're planning to move on to different software or you're trying to learn about different software, then this is the right course for you. Okay, so here we've got you covered. So let's see what all we'll learn over here. So firstly, we'll be setting up DaVinci Resolve. Okay, and before diving in, we need to make sure to download and install DaVinci Resolve. Okay. And once you have installed, we'll take a quick tour of the interface to familiarize yourself with the layout and the features. Okay. So once you get familiar with the interface and once you're familiar with the workspace, the software, it becomes quite easy for us to learn. Okay, so whether it's a video editing software or whether it's a graphic designing software, the basic is get familiar with the interface and with the workspace. Okay, because once you're familiar with all of those, it's quite easy for us to understand that how this basic software works. Okay, how it is different from any other software. What are the options available over here? So we'll be learning about all that over here. And next thing, we'll also be learning how you will be able to import media files. Okay, so it might not be the same of how you used to do in other video editing software like Final Cut Pro, or there is different software like Adobe Premiere Pro, okay, Filmora. So here it's not the same. So we need to understand how you will be able to import your video and audio files into DaVinci Resolve. And it's quite important that when you're working in DaVinci Resolve, you organize your media into bins. Okay, so what are bins basically? So bins are nothing else but it's just folders. Okay, so each and every folder, let's say you do have 10 audios and you do have 10 videos. So you can just segregate those into two different bits. Let's say you name one as videos and the other as audios. So it will be quite easy for you to navigate throughout. Okay. So as I've told you that you need to organize your media into bins and get ready to start editing your project. Okay. So about importing media and also about how you will be able to work over here, how the interface work, how the workspace basically works. We'll be learning about all of these things. Okay. Once we dive deep into our classes, and we'll also be learning about the basic editing tools. Okay, so we'll discover the essential editing tools such as how you will be able to cut your video, how you will be able to trim down your video. And if you're familiar with any kind of video software before, you guys know that cutting and trimming are not the same thing. Okay, so we'll also learn in detail about why it's not the same. And also we'll learn how you will be able to add transitions in DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so if you have two videos, you want to put up a transition that it looks quite smooth. I'll also show you how to do that over here. So these tools basically will help you to craft your video project with ease. Okay, it will actually make your video more appealing and more attractive to your viewer. Okay, so you will be able to use these things in detail. Okay, and also DaVinci Resolve is basically known for its color correction and also the color grading. Okay, so for my personal experience, I suggest that if you're working on with color grading or color correction, DaVinci Resolve is the best available software till today that helps you to color grade your video footage or your image footage in your video quite well. Okay, so color grading is a must to learn once you're learning DaVinci Resolve because it provides you with the best color grading software and also the best color grading features. Okay, so we need to understand the power of DaVinci Resolve in color correction and color grading, which basically enhance the visual appeal of your videos, and it actually gives them a professional look with advanced color tools. Okay, so we'll be learning about color correction, color grading in detail as well. Okay, and also we'll be learning how you will be able to add different kind of effects and also how you will be able to add up titles. Okay, so once we are talking about titles, we will also learn that how you will be able to use the text. Okay, whether it be a title or it be a lower third or any kind of text which you do want to put into your video, we'll be learning about that. So we'll explore the creative side of video editing by adding effects and titles to your project in DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so it will make your videos stand out with stunning visual elements. Okay, so we'll also learn about those things in detail. And next thing is audio editing and mixing. Okay, so audio editing is also quite important. Let's say you do have a video, but the quality of the video in the quality of the audio in your project is not that great. So it won't be that appealing to your viewer or let's say to your client because once the audio is not that great, it actually decreases the quality of your video at once. Okay, so we need to make sure that the way we are working on the video footage, the same way we need to make sure that my audio is up to the mark. Okay, so here we'll learn how to work with audio in DaVinci Resolve, how you will be able to adjust the audio levels, how you will be able to add up a music, and also apply different kind of audio effects to ensure your videos look and sound as good as they look. Okay, so that's about that, and I hope you guys do have got a basic idea of how you will be able to start working in DaVinci Resolve. So in next class we'll show you that how you will be able to install DaVinci Resolve from your browser and also how you will be able to create up a new project. Okay, so yeah, I hope to see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome you all to another chapter of the DaVinci Resolve tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 2, where I'll be installing and creating a new project. Okay, so we'll be learning how you will be able to install the DaVinci Resolve software and also how to get started with this particular software. So before getting started, you need to know how to create up a project where you'll be saving all your resource files and also the main project, okay, in which you're going to work on, because later you're going to export that same particular file as the final project. Okay, so we'll be learning about all these things over here in detail. So let's not waste time and let's get started. So to download DaVinci Resolve, you can go to any browser, whatever you're using, as I'm using Chrome right now. Okay, so the thing what you guys can basically do over here is come into your search bar, and from there make sure that you search for Da Vinci Resolve. Okay, so let me search for that over here. And as you guys can see, on my screen, I do have all of these options over here for DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so the first thing what you need to do is you need to go to this particular website. Okay, so this is the Blackmagic Design. So DaVinci Resolve is a software by the Blackmagic Design. So for that, you just need to click on DaVinci Resolve over here. And this is basically the home page of the DaVinci Resolve, and it is a software by the Blackmagic Design. And here you guys can see you do have this footage which is done basically by DaVinci Resolve. Here you guys can see why it's quite popular for its color grading. Okay, so here you guys can see you guys can make cinematic shots, you guys can make cinematic color grading over here. Okay, and if you do come down over here, you guys can see that you do have the option of free download. Okay, so if you want to download this one for free, you guys can come here and click on free download now. And once you click that, you will have this particular option over here. So they're asking that which particular one do you want to use? Okay, do you want to use the 18.6? Okay, and for what device? Are you using a Mac OS or an Apple product, or you do have a Linux PC, or you are using a Windows? Okay, so let's say I am using a Windows for now, and if I just click on Windows, a file will get downloaded, which I need to later on actually save that. Okay, so if I just click on Windows, basically it will just download me a page over here. And also they're asking me to register. Okay, so once you click over here, you guys can see that you need to put on all your details over here. You need to put on your country, the phone number and stuff. And also if you want to share anything about the product, you guys can come here and you guys can actually share your experience with the Blackmagic website itself. Okay, and also you guys can recommend that what are the features that they should add. Okay, so they also take suggestions from you. And once you're done, you guys can just click on register and download from here. Okay, and if you want to take the premium version, you guys can see if you do want to buy, it's $295 for a year. Okay, so if you do want to see more about what it provides, you guys can come here and you guys can check what's new in this version. Okay, so here you guys can see what are the versions and what all is new over here. Here you guys can see that you guys will be able to collaborate in the cloud space. And also here you guys can see they do have Blackmagic proxy generator. They do have the Blackmagic cloud camera sync, which is not available in the previous versions. Okay, so you guys can come here and check all those things out. And if you do want to check anything about the fusion page, or if you do want to check anything about the coloring page, you guys will be able to see all those things over here as well. Okay, again, let's go to the overview page, and if you come down here, you guys can see different kind of news and why it is mostly used in the Hollywood movies. Okay, and different kind of movies, so you guys can check all these things out right from over here. And if you just go through all these details which are provided over here, I am sure that you guys will also get a basic idea of what DaVinci Resolve is, how it actually works, how many pages they do have, what are its features. Okay, but in total, we'll be learning about that in detail into this particular chapter. You can also do motion graphics. You can do some work with the VFX as well over here using the Fusion page. And yeah, I hope you guys do have understood that how you will be able to install DaVinci Resolve. So as I've already installed DaVinci Resolve from before, I will just cancel this particular part and let's come here. And from here, let's open up the DaVinci Resolve application. Okay, so it might take some time. Okay, And for me, I am using the 18.5 version. Okay, so you guys can come here and you guys can basically check out which is the latest version for you. Okay, so most of the things will remain the same, but few other things might change with the version. Okay, so as you guys can see right now over here on my screen, I do have a popped up page. Okay, and over here into this page here, you guys can see the first thing which I have over here is the untitled project. Okay. So this is the project. If I do want to create up a new project, I can just click over here and click on to new project option. And let's say I do have worked in one file previously. And now I want to open up the same file and I want to continue working on that particular file. So in that case, if you just click on open, okay, you will be redirected to this particular page, and from here you can go to file, and from file you guys can actually import that particular file or open that particular file in which you are working on. Okay, so again, if you do want to cut this one, let's come here and let's just close this thing down. Okay, so you guys can come here and you guys can just close this thing down as well. Let's come here. Let's click on to DaVinci Resolve again. Okay, again, I am just opening up this particular file. Okay, let's wait for it me to show the home page again. Okay, so I'll just wait over here. And that was about opening up a new page. And this is of creating a new page. If you want to export anything, if you do have anything in your recent files, you guys can export it from here. And also you do have the option for importing as well. Okay. So here, if you do want to see your projects in this particular view, you guys can come here and you guys can actually view it quite like this. And also over here, you guys can see there is an option known as the local database. Okay. So let's say, why do we use local database? Let's say I do have five of us. We are working on a single project. Okay. So it's a team project, right? So over here, you guys can actually create a local database where you guys can multiple of you can work in the same file altogether at once. Okay, so if you want to add it, if you want to add members into your local database, you guys can actually add, you guys can create one, and if others want you to join in their local database, they can also invite you. Okay, so there are these particular options on top here. You guys can see you do have the sorting options here. If you do want to restore anything, you guys can restore. And if you do have a lot of local databases, in that case, you guys can also search by their particular name. Okay, so again, I will just click over here. Now I don't see the local database page. And on top here, you guys can see if you want to add up any folder where you want to save up all your recent works, you guys can come here, add up a folder. And over here, if you want to copy any of your project, you guys can come here and you guys can copy your project to a particular location. And using this slider, you guys can zoom in, zoom out. Here you guys can see once I zoom in, my this particular icon or the project is getting bigger. Okay, and if I do have any kind of project, let's say if I just hover my mouse over this particular project, then I will be able to see the preview of the project in which I worked on. Okay, and also here you do have the sorting order, how you want it to sort. Do you want it to sort in a ascending order or in a descending order? You guys can check about that as well. Here you will be able to see all the details about your project. Over here they'll ask you that how you want view. Do you want it in a list view? Here you guys can see you will have it in a list view as well. But for me, I will just keep this one up in a grid view itself. Okay, and on top, you do have this network options. Let's say if you're collaborating with other creators or other editors, you guys can actually do that. And here you guys can see you do have this cloud account as well. Okay, so if you are a premium user of the DaVinci Resolve, you will basically get Blackmagic Cloud Space. Okay, where you will be able to save all your work, okay, all your datas, and you will be able to collaborate with a lot of creators as well. So first thing first, I will create up a new document. So for that, if I just click here once, and let's say I will just click on new project, and they'll ask me that what do I want to name this one? So let's say I will name this one as creating a project. Okay, so let's come here. Let's name this one as creating a project, and I will just click on to create. Okay. So once I've clicked on create on my screen, you guys can see I do have this particular page. Okay. So this is basically the workspace in which I am going to work over here. So at first it might look quite messy and you guys might get confused. But once you move deep into the class, you guys will know that it is not quite hard. Okay, so for that I will just come here and let me show you guys about this 6 pages. So this is the media page, this is the cut page, this is the edit page, this is the fusion, the color grading, the fairlight, which is about the audio, and lastly here we do have the deliver page. Okay, so in next class we'll be learning about these things in detail. Okay, so these are the 7 page which are quite useful and the mostly used things. Whether you are using a Mac or you're using a Windows, you will mostly have a workspace or interface quite like this. And also it depends on the type of PC you're using, what is the screen size. Okay, if your screen size is bigger, maybe you will see few of the other options. Okay, few more options over here. So I do have already created a project. Okay. So now let's say I want to actually put up a preset over here. Okay. So for that, what I need to do is I need to come here onto the file option. And from the file option, I need to go here into the project settings. And the shortcut key for that is Shift plus 9 from your keyboard if you're using a Windows. Okay. Otherwise, if you're using a Mac, it's Option plus 9 from your keyboard. Okay, let's click on project settings over here. And once you click on project settings here, you guys can see what is the resolution. Okay, so here you guys can see it is in HD. And if you want to come here, if you want to check out other presets, you guys can come here and check. These are the different presets available right over here. Okay, so you guys can come here, check all those things out. You guys can also come here and you guys can actually put it manually. Okay, if you don't want the presets, let's say I will come here, I will put 1940 into 1020. Okay, so I will just come here, I will just put 1020 over here, and I have just made changes over here in these particular values. But here in my timeline resolution, you guys can see it had turned from 1920 into custom. Okay, so it shows me that now I do have a custom timeline format. Okay, so again, if I do want to go back to the same way how it was before, let's go to 1080 into 720. Okay, so let's come here, 720p, and again, it's back. And also over here, you guys will be able to select what is going to be the aspect ratio. Okay, so here you guys can choose the aspect ratio from here itself. You guys can choose that for your timeline, how many FPS you want your video to be. Okay, so frame per second, and the short form is FPS. So let's say if you do have a video of 10 seconds, okay, so in that 10 seconds, in each seconds, you will have 24 frames. So videos are basically nothing else, but video basically shows you so many images at the same time that it actually feels that it's moving and it do have a motion. Okay. So it actually makes us believe that we are looking at something which is basically moving. Okay. So when you are shooting any kind of video, it actually takes each and every frame. Let's say in 1 second, that would take 24 frames of the scenario and actually view that 24 frames to you in one particular second. And once you see so many frames at 1 second, it feels like a motion. Okay, so that's how a video is made. And also here you do have the playback frame rate, which is 24 as well. I can come here and I can basically choose that how many frames per second do I want from here. Okay, so you guys can come here, choose if you're looking for any slow-mo video, you guys can choose the frame rate accordingly. Let me take this 25 frames per second. That was about the timeline format. If you come down here, you guys can see you also do have different features, okay, and also different advanced features of creating a new project, okay. Once we move deeper into our classes, we'll be learning more about that, okay. Here you do have image scaling, you do have the color management, and once you're happy with all of these options, you guys can come here and you guys can just click on save. And over here in my preview panel, you guys can see I do have already created this particular project. Okay. And on top, you guys can see that I also do have the name of the project, which is creating a project over here. And also, oh, from here, you guys will be able to import your media. Okay, so you guys can come here and you guys will be able to import your media into this media panel. And if you come here into collections, you guys can see that you do have a lot of options over here. If you just double click into video clips, you guys can come here and these are few of the smart bins. Okay, so you guys can actually save up those things quite easily right over here. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys do have understood this class on how you will be able to install DaVinci Resolve and also how you will be able to create up a new project, how you'll be able to set up the frames per second, how you will be able to set up the frame, okay, at what preset you are going to work on. Do you want to customize it or not? We have learned about that. So in next class, we'll be understanding about the whole workspace over here, how you will be able to work in a particular workspace. So see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome you all to another chapter of the DaVinci Resolve tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 3, where we'll be understanding about the workspace. Okay. So as I've already told you that once you're familiar with the workspace, the software will basically look quite easy for you to navigate and work through. So let's not waste time and let's get started. So over here, as you guys can see, now I'm here in the workspace of the DaVinci Resolve. Okay. So mainly we are going to talk about the workspace over here, okay, to get you guys familiar with the workspace. So let's get started. Okay. So on top, as you guys can see, you do have a lot of options right over here. Okay. So this is basically called as the menu bar. And under menu bar, here you guys can see I do have, if I do want to create a new project instead of this one, okay, I will be able to create up a new project. If you do want to save this project which you have worked on, you guys can save the project. If you want to save this project and want to rename it at the same time, make sure to choose the save project as. Okay. And here you do have the import option. Here also you guys can see if you do want to export anything, you guys can come here and you can export your things up. And also you do have under edit, you do have undo, redo if you want to see the history. And if you want to select all of these object in your timeline, you guys can also do that. Here are a lot of options, okay, which we'll learn once we move deeper into our classes. Okay. And in DaVinci Resolve, okay, these are the 7 options which you need to basically focus on. Okay, so the first thing is importing a media. Okay, so let's start with importing a media. So once you're over here in this particular page, you will see that you have all the drives which you have in your PC over here, from where you guys will be able to upload your file. Okay, let's say you do have your file in the E drive. Okay, so in that case, I will come here onto the E drive, and from here, I will be able to select the project using which I want to work on. So let's double click over here, and you guys can see I do have already segregated this one as the audios, the images, the videos, and I do have this particular logo. Okay. And if you do want to increase the size of this icon, you guys can see on top, I do have this particular slider. If I just move this one on top, you guys can see now I am able to view all of these folders quite large. Okay, but if I do want to decrease the size, again, I can decrease the size quite like this. Okay, and from here, let's say if I just double click, you guys can see I do have a lot of videos using which I can work on. And here, if I just click once onto that particular video, you guys can see I am able to see a small preview of the video using which I am going to work on. Okay, you guys can see this is the total duration. Okay, if you want to bring it right over here, okay, this is the first frame of the video, and this is basically the last frame of the video. Okay, so there are different ways of how you will be able to import. Once you are over into your videos, you guys can come here and simply drag and drop it over here in your media pool. Okay, so you guys can come here and let's say you want to drag this one over here into the media pool, and you guys can basically work on over here. Okay, so you guys can actually import this particular videos by just dragging and dropping. Okay, and again, over here, let's say you want to upload the whole folder itself. Okay, you guys can come back, and you guys make sure that you guys just hold this thing up right over here, and the whole folder will basically get uploaded. Okay, so make sure of that. What do you want to do? Do you want to upload this whole folder altogether, or do you want to upload individually each and everything? Okay, so you guys can come here, you guys can actually get a preview of how it actually looks. You guys can just hover your mouse and see what kind of video you do have over here. Okay, so you guys can come here and you guys can just hover your mouse quite like this. Let's take this particular video, and if you want to add it into media pool, there are other ways. Just right click on the video, and from here you guys can see you do have the option of add into media pool. Okay, so once you add this into the media pool, here basically you will have a pop-up window quite like this, which says the selected clip have a different frame rate to the project. Would you like to change your timeline frame rate to match? Okay, and under option you do have two options. Okay, so one is don't change and the other one is basically change. Okay, so to understand that, let's come here, let's just go back over here. Okay, so I will just click on don't change, and here you guys can see now I do have my video right over here in my media pool. Okay, so in that case, now if you do want to delete it as well, right click and you guys can delete it from here. Otherwise, select this particular media and click on to the delete button from your keyboard. Okay, so let's say I want to take multiple files from here. I will just drag this one down over here, add into media pool. I will just click on don't change or change from here. Okay, it totally depends on you. So let's say I will just click on change, and again I will come here and I will just delete this footage. Okay, let's select this one, let's delete this footage. So now again from here, let's just drag and drop this video. And now I will click on don't change over here. Okay, so this is how you guys can create, because if you come here, if you click onto this video, here you guys can also see what is the detail of this particular clip. Okay, you guys can see what is the frame rate over here. And also on top, you guys will be able to see that what is the resolution of this particular video. And here is the frame per second. But the project which I had created, if you go into file, if you go into project settings, here you guys can see the timeline resolution is 1280 into 720. Okay, and the timeline frame rate is 29.97 frames per second. Okay, so if I come here and if I just cancel this thing now, you guys can see both of this won't basically match. Okay, so in that case, they will show me that particular warning sign from where I will be able to select, do I want the existing frame rate or the one which I had created manually from my DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so let's take out other videos. Let's come here and let's drag these things out. Let's come here and let's drag this video over here as well. Okay, so now over here I do have this for videos. If I do want to see up a preview, I can just click here over once and I can basically see the preview here in my source monitor. Okay, so you guys can come here and you guys can basically see up a preview as well. And here, if you just hover your mouse over onto this media folders, you guys can come here and you guys can work on with that. Okay, so if you want to come here, want to create up a new bin, you guys can also do all of that over here. So this was about the media page. And now let's move on to this cut page over here. Okay, so once you come here into the cut page, you guys can basically see that over here in my media handle, I do have this all videos. Okay, here in my master page option. Okay, so let's come here and if you want to import or let's say if you want to trim. So mostly we don't use this option much because the same thing you will be able to do over here into the edit page as well. But to just give you guys an intro about what it is and in what cases you guys will be able to use that. Let's say you do have multiple videos, okay, multiple footages. So in that case, you guys can come here, drag this over here into your timeline. Okay, let's come here, let's drag this over here on my timeline again. So let's come here, let's drag this one down here onto the timeline. And here you guys can see our timeline is basically created. Okay, so we'll be talking about timeline in detail. And let's say if I come over here and I want to add another footage. Okay, so let's come here and let's add another footage over here as well. Okay, so let's come here, let's bring my playhead at the end. Okay, let's come here, let's bring my playhead from here to the last. I just have to make sure that I drag this playhead. Okay, so you guys can come here and you guys can move this playhead from here as well. So over here now I want to add up another video. So this is how you guys can basically add up another video. The same way you guys just drag this one, come here down. And over here again, you guys can basically add this particular video as well. Okay, so now over here underneath, you guys can see that I am not able to view all of this at once. But on top, as you guys can see, I do have another timeline where I'm able to see all of this over here in detail. Okay, so here you guys can see I do have these footages, and if I wanna change up the spacing, I can come here and I can just change the spacing. Now you guys can see this first video. Okay, this particular video is at first now, and this one is in second. So the same way, if you just move this particular playhead, you guys can see this particular timeline is also being moved. Okay, and individually, if you want to trim this thing down, you guys can come here and you guys can basically trim this thing down quite like this right over here. Okay, and this was basically about the cut page. Okay, and if you don't want to come here and if you want to add up a new bin, you guys can come here, click on add bin, and let's say I want to name this one as videos. Okay, so let's come here, let's name this one as videos. And once you have saved this, let's say what I can do is I will come here, I will just select all of this and I will just drag and drop this over here into my bin. Okay, so once you have so many videos, it's quite hard for you to understand which video you will use in what particular place. So it's quite handy and quite useful once you organize your workspace. Okay, so it is about this particular cut page right over here. If you want to trim it down, if you want to cut anything, okay, you guys can come here and you guys can cut and trim. Okay, so here you guys can see you do have the split clip option, and here the ripple is basically on. Okay, so if you come here and if you do wanna on the ripple, you guys can come here and you guys can turn on the ripple mode. And if you do have any kind of audio over here, you guys can come here and if you do want to mute the track or if you want to disable it totally, you guys can come here and you guys can disable it properly as well. Okay. So this was about this cut page over here. Now let's come here onto the edit page. Okay. So over here, this is the most important page, and this is the page where we'll be spending most of our time. Okay. So the first thing, if you guys can see, this is basically the source monitor. Okay, so this is the source monitor right over here where you will be able to view all of these videos, okay, which you are going to work on. Okay, so if you just click over here once, you guys will be able to see that you do have all of these videos over here. This is the timeline from where I will be able to add different kind of videos. If I want to put up 2 or 3 footages, I can come here and I can also do that from here itself. Okay, so let's come here, let's click on fit in the timeline. Now I am able to view all the 3 videos over here in my timeline. And now if I want to view my timeline in a bigger way, let's say I will come here and I will just turn off the media pool. And here you guys can see now I am not able to see my media pool right over here, but instead I am able to see my source monitor. And over here I am also able to see this preview window. Okay, so here only the magic will take place where you will be able to cut. Okay, you will be able to put on different clips, you will be able to put on the audio which you like. Okay, and also over here, you guys can see you do have this audio options. So if you just click over here once, you guys can see that you do have this audio functions right over here itself. And if you want to zoom in the timeline, zoom in and out, you guys can come here and manually zoom in and zoom out the timeline right over here. And again, if I do want to check my media pool, let's come here, click on media pool. And here you guys can see under the videos folder or the video bin, I do have 4 of this video. Okay. And here this is the smart bin. Let's say if you do have actually come here and now you want to see what are the video clips do I have. Okay, so under video clips here you guys can see I do have this 4, and if I come here click on audio only, you guys can see that I don't have any audio yet over here. Okay, and I didn't segregate or created the bin according to myself, but over here the smart bin option, what it does is if you just import any kind of video, it recognizes what kind of file it is and it segregates them accordingly. So if it's a video clip, it will just save it up in the video option. If it's an audio clip, it will set it up in an audio clip option. If you do have any kind of effect, any music, any dialogue, okay, and if you do have different kind of files, okay, which it is not able to understand what kind of file it is, then it will just save it under the uncategorized option. Okay, so this is about this edit page over here. Okay, so let's say once you're done editing, you do have put on all the images, you do have put all of the audios over here. Now what you want to do is you want to come here and you want to work on with motion graphics and also VFX. So in that case here you guys can see this is one of the nicest and best feature of the Davinci Resolve, which is known as the frames. Over here you guys can see now I am able to check out here in my inspector panel. Okay, and also you guys can see I do have this particular nodes. Okay, so these things are basically called nodes. And over here you guys might see more options over here, and if you don't see more options, you guys can come here and you guys can actually set it up according well to yourself. Okay, let's say I want to see the metadata. I can come here, I can turn on the metadata. If I do want to see up the keyframes here, you guys can see I am able to see up the keyframes here in this particular workspace as well. Okay, so let's say if I want to come here, if I do want to increase the timeline size and I want to decrease this particular thing right over here, I can also come here and I can do that. So this is quite interesting, and here we'll be learning about that in detail, which is quite handy. Okay, so I hope you guys do have understood over here till fusion, but for now I'll be telling you guys that this is mostly used for motion graphics, and also it is used for any kind of VFX work, this particular fusion page. And now let's move on to the color page where you guys will be able to work with the color grading. Okay, so you guys might see this kind of interface at first. If you do want to change it, you guys can come here and you guys can change it accordingly. Okay, and if you see this keyframe option, and if you want to see the scopes, you guys can come here and you guys can select this particular scopes, and here you guys can see you do have the color scopes as well. Okay, so here I will just turn it back on again, the keyframe option, and over here also you guys can basically work around. Okay, so we'll be learning about coloring as well. So these are few of the important features. If you do want to decrease the spacing, you guys can come here and decrease the spacing as well. Here you guys can see if you do want to zoom in and zoom out, you guys can come here, zoom in and zoom out to the footages accordingly. So here you guys can see individually each and every frame, or each and individual project, or this particular video I can work on with the color grading over here itself. Okay, so from here also, if you do want to see the media pool, you guys can come here, click on media pool, and you will have this video option. And under here, you guys can see I do have my media, which I do have uploaded. Okay, and over here, just now I will just click on clips, and only I'm able to see the clips right now. And again, if I do want to turn off the media pool, I will come here, I will just turn off the media pool from here as well. Okay, so this was about color grading. From here, you will be able to do some color correction, some color grading, okay, of some high classes. Okay, and if you want to check out the effects, you guys can come here, click on the effects option, and here you guys can see you do have a lot of effects which you guys can basically work on while color grading. Okay, so I will come here, I will just deselect these things. Okay, let's say let's delete this one. And if you do want to move out the playhead, you guys can come here and move out the playhead as well. Okay, so I will just turn off the effects again. And here you guys can see if I do want to turn off the nodes option, I can turn off the nodes option as well. And if I want to turn on the timeline, which we have already seen over here in the cut page, that is the type of page which will also appear right over here as well. So over here, I'm also able to see the total duration of the video. Okay, and individually you guys can work on with the color modes over here. And once you're done with the coloring, you have worked with the motion graphics, you have worked with the VFX, you have done the color grading. Now comes the audio. Okay, so here the audio option is known as the Fairlight. So you guys can come here, click on to this audio option, and over here you will have a page quite like this. Okay, so over here you do have the mixer. If you do want to increase or decrease the noise level, you guys can come here, increase or decrease the noise level over here. Okay, and you guys can see you do have the sound library right over here itself. If you click here once, if you want to download the free sound library, you guys can come here. Let's click on download, and you guys can basically download the sound library, which will basically redirect you into their page, okay, into the Blackmagic or the Davinci Resolve page. So you guys can download that particular thing right from here itself. Okay, and once you're done with the audio, once you're done motion graphicing, once you're done color correcting, now the last thing is the deliver page. Okay, so this is also called as the export page over here. So here you guys can see on my left hand side, you guys can actually view that what I do want to name this file, where do I want to save this file. Okay, and do I want it as a single clip, or I want to have those things as individual clips. And also you guys can see what is going to be the format, the resolution, how the frame rate is going to be. Okay, and also there are some advanced settings as well. You guys can come here and check those things out as well. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys do have understood about the 6 or the 7 important pages in which we are going to work on in the DaVinci Resolve. Okay, and again, if I come here into the media file, you guys can see I do have this metadata option. Okay, let's say I will just click over here, and over here into the metadata option, I will be able to see all the information of my video. Okay, so from here I will be able to see all the information available for my video. Okay, and if I want to go to the inspector panel, you guys can see all the values related to the video selected on my frame. I will be able to change that. If I do want to transform it, do I want to crop it, I can basically crop it. If I do want to put out any kind of transition, I can also put out kind of transitions over here itself. Okay, so that was about this particular thing. And last down, you guys can see as I do have all of these options. Okay, let's say I don't want to view all these things options. I want it to hide. Okay, because sometimes it might create some confusion when you are working over here in the timeline. So in that case, what you guys can do is you guys can go to the workspace, and from here make sure to turn off the show page navigation option. And now if you just take a look underneath, you guys won't be able to see the 7 pages options right over here. And again, the same way, if you do want to view those things up, let's go to the workspace again, and let's click on show page navigation, which again shows me these 7 pages. Okay, so that is about the workspace. And also, if there are different options, if you do want to reset the UI layout, you guys can also do that. So sometimes what happens is if you do want to work over here, you guys can actually decrease the spacing just by dragging. Okay, if you do want this media file to be less, you guys can come here, and once you have that kind of arrow on your screen, it shows that you guys will be able to work over here. So as I have increased the size over here on top, let's go to workspace. And from here, if you want to reset the UI layout, you guys click on reset UI, and it will be back at the same UI which you have started working on. Okay, so you guys can come here, and if you do want to switch the pages, instead of over here, let's say my show page navigation is turned off, but now I want to go from my media page to my other pages. So in that case, go to workspace, go to switch to page, and from here, you guys can see, you guys can check out in what page do I want to go. Okay, and the shortcut key for that is shift plus 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 accordingly. And also, if you want to click on show page, and if you want to directly see up any page, let's say I want to go with the fusion, you guys can come here, and you guys can actually work on with the fusion page over here. Okay, so let's come here, and now let's go to workspace. I will just click on show page navigation. Now over here, I don't have my fusion page over here available as well. Okay, so now to go back again, I will just go and check this show page option. Let's turn on the fusion. Let's go to workspace, switch to page, and from here now let's go to the edit page option. So this is how you guys will be able to work over here. And under effects, you guys can see I do have all of these effects. Here you guys can see different kind of transitions, different kind of audio files as well. Okay, you guys can come here, and let's say I will just turn it back off. Okay, you guys can turn it back on and off. Okay, so this was a brief introduction about the workspace. I hope you guys do have understood a little bit, but once we move deeper into our classes, each and every one of these options will become more clear to you. Okay, so yeah, I hope to see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome you all to another chapter of the DaVinci Resolve tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 4, where we'll be importing the media files. Okay, so here in this particular chapter, I'll be showing you guys in detail about how you will be able to import your media files, the different options regarding that. Okay, so in last class, whilst I was talking about the workspace, I have showed you guys about the media page, how you will be able to do that. But here in this class, we will specifically talk about importing the media in detail. So let's not waste time and let's get started. So over here on my screen, as you guys can see, now I'm here in the workspace and basically on the media page over here. So in last class, I have showed you that what are the different ways of how you will be able to import your media. Okay, so the simple way is just drag and drop. Okay, so if you just drag and drop your media, it will be basically imported. And if you want to drag and drop a file itself, you guys can come here and let's say I want to have this particular file. Okay, I can just drag and drop it directly over here. So for now, let's say I'm not able to actually import this file. Why? Because in this particular folder, I don't have any items. So if I double click, you guys can see this is totally an empty folder. Okay. So over here from your PC, you won't be able to import any empty file. Okay. So that's the first thing. And also, if I want to come here, let's say I want to take this audio folder. And once I take this audio folder, you guys can see all the content which I had here in my audio folder is being imported over here as well. Okay. So that is how you guys can basically import these things over here. And now if you just right click and if you want to actually create some new bin for each and everything right over here, you guys can come here and you guys can click on new bin and it will basically create you up bins. Okay, so let's come here. Let's name this one as audios. Okay, so let's come here. I will name this one as audios. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to import all of this audio by just dragging and dropping it over here into my bin, or you guys can also call it as the folder. And directly, if you want to import any folder itself, you guys can right click. Then from here, you guys can just directly go to import media, which will redirect you into your page. And the same way, if you want to import a bin, you guys can come here and directly you can import a folder itself. Okay, so if you want to import a folder itself, you guys can come here and import a folder itself as well. So for me, let me come right over here and let me actually create or let me just actually line up my workspace. So I will just name this one as the videos over here. Okay. And what I'll do is I will just select all of this thing together at once. And now I will just drag and drop this one over here in my videos panel. So now again, let's come here. Let's go to new bin and I will name this one as images. Okay, so I will name this one as images. Let's drag and drop these images right over here into the images folder. Okay, so now if you come down over here, now if you just click on audio only under the smart bin option, you guys can see that I do have these 5 audios. If you come here and if you just go with video clips here, you guys can see I do have this 4 video clips right over here. And also if I just come here and let's say I will just go down into this particular collections. Let's go with music, effects, silence, uncategorized, subcategorized. You guys can see I don't have anything yet over there. Okay, so I will just close this thing down and under keywords, I don't have anything as well. But under collections, you guys can see I do have all of these collections right over here. Okay, and also I do have all of these folders. Okay, so let's come here and let's just look at these all collections over here again. And if you do want to go back from collections, you guys can again see that I do have all of these 3 folders over here in which I can work on. So let me just decrease the size over here. Let me come here. Let me just close this thing down as well. Let's go to videos, and under videos, you guys can see I do have this particular 3 folders. Okay. So this is one way of how you will be able to import your media. And let's say if I go to file and from here also I can basically import. Okay. So if you go to import here, you guys can directly import a bin, or if you want to actually import a media, you guys can directly come here and you guys can actually directly import your media over here as well if it's a single project. And also let's come down and let's say if I just right click over here, if you want to import subtitles as well for any of your video, you guys can come here and you guys can actually import your subtitles which you can use into your video itself. Okay, so this was about importing. Okay, and once you're done importing, if you come here, let's say if you go to your edit page, you will also be able to see a page quite like this. If you double click over here, then only you guys will be able to see all of those videos. And if you want to go back frame by frame, you guys can come here. Let's click on videos. And now under this videos option, you do have this three folder, which is one is audio, another one is videos, and the other one is images. So let's come here. Let's increase the smart bin size over here that I can view it properly. Okay. And now, if you don't want to view this particular part or this media folder, you guys can come here and you guys can just click onto the media poll and you guys can see that now you do have this particular interface right over here. Again, let's go to this media folder file over here. And let's say I will just come here onto the videos and I want to check out the details of this particular video. So here you guys can see I do have the clip details option. Let's turn off the audio and now I am only able to see the metadata or the clip details. Here you guys can see what is the start point, what is the ending frame. You guys can see that how many frames does it have, and also what is basically the frame rate. Okay, and also the resolution of your screen. Let's come here. Let's close down the metadata. And once you have closed down the metadata, you guys are only able to see the source monitor and only the imported medias right over here. Okay, and under audio also you guys can see that you do have all of this audio using which you guys can work on. Let's say you are working on multiple projects. Okay, so the usefulness of creating a bid is you guys can actually name those things accordingly. Let's say you do have five projects and the timeline of that five project is day after tomorrow, so you guys can just segregate your work that you don't get confused and you don't mix up. Okay, so if your client gives you any kind of resources and they want you to edit a video for them, in that case you guys can actually segregate those work into particular bins or into particular folders. Okay, so that was about this media storage. This was the smart bin, which will actually recognize you what kind of files you have imported and it will segregate them accordingly. And I have also showed you that if you want to do it manually, how you will be able to select these frames manually right over here. And under this master option, also under the videos, you guys can see I do have my timeline as well. Okay, so in one particular project, you guys can have multiple timelines, but in one timeline, you can't have multiple projects. So to understand about the timeline, you need to understand. So you can't have multiple projects in one timeline. You need to understand it as a chapter of a book. Okay. So a book can have multiple chapters, but a chapter can't have multiple books. So that is the simplest example which I can give you over here. Okay, so that was about importing your media, and I have showed you guys different ways of how you will be able to import. If you want to create up a new bin, you guys can come here, create a new bin from here to segregate your work from the file option as well. Under the import option, you guys can see you guys can import all of these things over here. If you directly want to import a project which you have worked on before, you guys can come here, click on import project, which will redirect you into a PC. So if you click onto this here, you will be able to see that you do have any Resolve or Davinci Resolve file or not, which will basically open up right over here. Okay, so that is about that. And if you want to create up a new timeline, you guys can come here and you guys can go to timeline and you guys can basically import or create up a new timeline over here as well. Okay, so you guys can basically come right over here, create up a new timeline over here as well. Okay, so I hope you guys do have understood of how you will be able to import media. I have showed you guys different ways to do that over here into this particular chapter. So in next chapter, we are going to learn how you will be able to set up your workspace, like how you'll be able to edit your workspace before starting on with your project. Okay. So see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome you all to another chapter of the DaVinci Resolve tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 5, where I'll be editing the workspace. Okay. So in last class, we have learned about the media page. Okay. But here we'll be talking about the edit page, in where we'll be spending most of our times. Okay. So let's not waste time and let's get started. So over here on my screen, as you guys can see, now I'm here in the media page over here. And in last class, I have showed you that how you will be able to segregate all of your works. Okay. And over here, you guys can see that I do have my files. Okay. I do have my images, I do have my audios, and also my videos segregated quite properly. Okay. So now let's move on to the edit page right over here. And once you go over here onto the edit page, let's open my media pool from here. And over here, if you just look at this interface, you guys can see under this media file, I can actually import my media over here into my timeline. Okay. So over here, we have basically skipped this cut page. Okay. But I will just go in a brief because that is not quite important. And if you want to know a bit more over here, you guys can come here and I will just explain you a bit over here as well. Okay, so let's say I want to come here and I do have a video which is around 30 seconds. Okay, so let's say I will just click over here once and I will be able to view this over here into my timeline. Let's say I will come here and instead of this particular timeline, let's say I want to get this particular video, and over here of this particular video, once I double click, I only want 2 seconds of this 13 seconds video. Okay, if you want to do some major cut, here you guys can see this red color one is basically the playhead. And now I want to trim my video down. Okay, let's say I want the video over here, okay, of this particular place. Okay, only this particular place. So in that case, the different ways are there. I can just come here and I can just drag this one down from here. Otherwise, the shortcut way of doing this is make your playhead and click on I. Okay, so from your keyboard, if you just click on I, you guys can see I have actually select the in point over here. You guys can see this is the in point, and if I keep my playhead right over here and if I click on O, you guys can see now only this particular part of my whole footage will be imported right over here. Okay, so in that case, what I can do is I can come here, take this one. Okay, and now from here, let's drag this one and let's drag and drop this one right over here. Okay, and you guys can see the total duration of this particular footage is around 12 seconds. Okay, so over here you guys can see it is around 12 and 3 frames. And once your video is ended, you guys will be able to see this kind of thing here in your source monitor. Okay, so if you do want to see a preview, let's move on to my playhead over here and let's come here and let's play this thing up. And here you guys can see my video is basically being played right over here. If I want to stop it, I can come here and stop it. If I want to go and play in reverse, I can come here and play in reverse as well. Let's just pause this thing down. If you want to go back frame by frame or at the starting, you guys can come here and you guys can directly go on to the start point. And here, if you want to go here in the end point, you guys can come here and go to the end point itself if you want to trim up anything. Okay, so let's say now over here you want to import multiple footages. Okay, so of this particular video, I want only 12 seconds, which I have already cut and put. But now I will just double click over here. And again, I want to import a little part of this particular video. Let's say I want to come right over here. I want to select the in point over here and the out point right over here itself. Okay, so now once you're done, you guys can come here and you guys can drag this particular footage and you guys can just bring it and just put it over here at last. Okay, so here now you guys can see that the total duration of this whole footage is changed to 14 seconds. Okay, so as you guys can see, the total duration have changed basically to 14 seconds. And if you move your playhead over here as well, otherwise using spacebar, you guys can actually play and pause as well. Okay, so once you are done, okay, once you have imported your media over here, you guys can come into this edit page. Okay, so if you have to do some major cutting or if you want to do some major trimming into a video, this one is important. But the same thing you guys can do from the edit page itself. So now let's come here and we will move on to the edit page. Okay, so this is basically known as the source monitor. We'll be learning about source monitor in detail. And also, let's say if I come right over here and at this particular point, let's say I want to import a video. Okay, so let's say I will just click onto this one. And from here, you guys can see there are different options. Okay, so here you guys can see this is the smart insert, the append option. This is the repel override. If you want to insert this particular file, in between, you guys can select that particular video and directly click on insert. Okay, and once you click on insert, you guys can see this video is also being inserted in between both of the videos which I had previously. Let's select this one and let's click on to the delete button from my keyboard, and that thing is being deleted over here as well. Okay, so let's come here and over here, let's go back onto the edit page. Okay, so once you're over here into the edit page, as you guys can see, this basic space is known as the timeline, and over here this particular space is known as the source monitor, and this one is known as the preview window. Okay, so now let's try to understand how it actually works. So once you have imported your media and once you come here into the edit page, you guys will be able to see that you do have all of your footages over here. Okay, you guys can come here, you guys can import that, and if you go to master, you guys can see that you already do have the timeline. Okay, so over here you guys can see I do have my timeline over here itself. Let's come here, let's deselect everything. Okay, and if you want to create new timeline using the selected bin, you guys can come here and you guys can create a new timeline. Okay, so you guys can work in multiple timeline into a single project. Okay, so let's try to understand this thing. So first thing is the media pool. Okay, from where you will be able to import your media. And once you have imported, what you guys can do is you guys can come here and see that particular thing into your source monitor or into your source window. Okay, so it will directly come here in the source window, and from the source window what we will do is we will select what particular part do we want in our video. Let's say let's come here onto this particular video from here, and you guys can see I do have it here in my source monitor. Okay, so I can check out, okay, at what particular part do I want of my video. Okay, and you guys can also see which you want. Do you want to see the audio track if you do have any audio, or do you want to see the offline if you want to see any animations? You guys can come here and check those things out. For now, I will select this one as the source monitor, and over here I will select this as the transform. Okay, so let's come here, let's just come here and let's deselect this one. Okay, I will come here. If you do want to play this thing up, you guys can come here and play this thing up from here itself. Let's come to my source window, and now I will just select the in point and out point. Let's say I want this particular part of the video, so I will just click on I over here, and now I will just play this thing using shift, and I want the video only till here. Okay, and again what I'll do is I will click on O from my keyboard to actually see the in point and the out point. And once you're done, drag this one and drop it just over here. Okay, so you guys can come here and you guys can add your video right over here just beside. Okay, so once you're done, you have imported it here in the timeline. In this particular window, you will be able to see the final result. So let me tell you guys in a simple way again. From the media window, your footage will come into this source monitor. And once you have trimmed your video, bring this particular video into your timeline. Okay. And the final product you guys will be able to see over here into this preview panel. Okay. So you will be able to see this thing into the preview panel. And here you guys can see, as I do only do have one timeline, I am able to see only timeline one option. Okay, so you guys can come here, and also if you do want to change up the name of the timeline, you guys can come here, and you guys can also change the name of the timeline from here itself. Okay, so if you do want to come here, turn it off, you guys can come here, click once, and it will be turned off again. Okay, so if you want to use anything, like if you want to work on with cropping, if you want to use the dynamic zoom option, you guys can select that and it will be applied accordingly. Okay. So once you have done with this particular part, let's say if you want to zoom in with your mouse, you guys can scroll in and zoom in into a particular place. Let's say I want to zoom into this particular place. I will just keep my mouse over here, and over here I will just zoom in, and here into this particular panel, you guys can see I am able to zoom in and see how it actually works. And also you guys can just move around this playhead over here just to see the whole preview. And if you guys just take a look, that if I just move my playhead over here, you guys can see the playhead in my source monitor is also moving. Okay, so for that, let's come here into the image option. And what I'm going to do is I am going to come here, and for images, you guys can directly import those images. Okay, so I will come here, let's say from my media panel, I will come here and I will just import this video or this footage right over here. Okay, and also if you want to see the details of any footage which you have imported, you guys can click on that footage, and let's go to the inspector or this metadata option, and you will be able to see the footage details. Okay, so here you guys can see the footage details, and from the inspector option, if you click on inspector option, if you do want to increase the size, okay, you guys can increase the size of the footage. If you do want to decrease the size of the footage, you guys can come here and you guys can decrease the size of the footage as well. So here you do have the cropping option, you do have the positioning option, you can actually zoom in, zoom out, and also if you do want to give any kind of rotation, you guys can come here and you guys will be able to see up the rotation as well. Let's turn off this option, and over here, as you guys can see, here in my preview panel, I am able to see how the final video or the final product will look like. But here in my source monitor, I am only able to see the thing which I do have selected from my media panel. So let's try to understand this once again to make it simple. Okay, you guys might get confused a little bit at starting, but once you start working in DaVinci Resolve, it will be quite easier for you guys to relate. So from your PC, it comes, or the videos or the medias come into your media pool. From media pool, you guys get that into your source monitor. And from source monitor, once you have trimmed down your video, okay, you guys bring that video into your timeline. And from the timeline, whatever the product you have over here, you will be able to view that product into your preview panel right over here. Okay, so once you are done importing your media, okay, let's say I want to work with this 3 video and I want to work with this particular image, and now I am done working with my media panel and I want to view my timeline bigger. Okay, so in that case, you guys can come here and turn off the media pool option, and you guys can see the length of the timeline is now more. Okay, now you are able to see your timeline in a better way. Okay, so you guys can actually stack up multiple layers over here. You guys can actually do that over here as well. And let's say you want to zoom in only the source monitor. Okay, so you guys can come here and let's say I want to just zoom in 100%. This is how it will look. And again, the same way, if you do want to fit it over here, you guys can come here and fit it over here as well. Okay, so the same way, the same options are over here. If you do want to zoom in, you guys can just scroll in and zoom in. Okay, and also this option is basically for the source monitor, and this one is basically for the preview window or the preview monitor. Okay, so that is about that. And here you guys can see the similar options, going to the first frame and playing in reverse, stopping. And over here, if you do want to play, if you do want to go to the last frame, and if you want to play this video in a loop, you guys can come here and turn this on and off. Okay, so these options over here are basically the same. Okay, but these options are for the source monitor. These options underneath are for basically the source or the project panel. Okay, and if you want to go, or if you want to mark in and mark out eventually, well, not from this, okay, not using the keyboard, you guys can come here and you guys can mark in and mark out eventually from your panel as well. Okay, and if you do want to match the frames, you guys can come here and you guys can check on matching the frames as well. Okay, so you guys can come here and you guys can see, you guys will be able to match up the frame. So now if I just come here, if I just select it, and from here if I just click on to this match frame, it will not basically work as it's already over here into my timeline. And if I do want to zoom out a little bit, you guys can see I can basically zoom in and zoom out according to my need or according to my liking. Okay, so this was about editing your workspace. Okay, if you do want more options, you guys can see, you guys will be able to, if you want to work on with the audio, okay, if you want to decrease or increase the audio level, you guys can go to the mixer, and here you guys can just see that here you do have your audio options. And if you do want to turn your audio off altogether, you guys can come here and you guys can turn off the audio altogether at once. If you want to disable it, you guys can come here and you guys can just mute your track. Okay, so you guys can actually work with all these options right over here. Okay, and underneath here you guys can see this is the jog wheel. If you do want to move up, you guys can actually move this thing over here by dragging as well. Okay, and if you want to see some details, okay, let's go to the metadata, and over here you guys can see what is the start frame, okay, and what is the end frame over here, how many frames in total, what is the frame rate over here. You guys can check all of these things out from the metadata option as well. Okay, and just beside the media pool, if you do want to put out any kind of effects over here, make sure you turn on the effects option. And under effects, you guys can see that you do have the video transition options, the audio transition options, and a lot of things more. Okay, so under titles here, you guys can see that over here, you guys, if you want to view the same thing over here, you guys can come here and you guys can view it over here into your timeline as well. Okay, so if you double click here, you guys can see it over here as well. Okay, so this is how it will basically look, and you guys can see which one are you looking to put into your video. Okay, so you guys can check it right from here. If you just double click over here, you guys will be able to see it over here into your preview or into your source monitor. Okay, so I will just turn off the effects mode again. Okay, if you want to add more videos to it, go to media pool and you guys can come here and you guys can work on with this option as well. Okay, so now let's say you do have imported each and everything. Okay, now you don't need the source monitor. Okay, so if you want to only have the preview monitor or the preview panel, in that case you guys can come here on the right hand side of your workspace and you will see an option right over here. Okay, single viewer mode. Make sure to click over here once, and now you will only be able to see the preview monitor instead of the source monitor. You guys can see this is how it works, this is how it will appear, and here you guys can see the total view at once. Okay, and again, if you want to see the double view, okay, you guys can come here and you guys can actually have the double view as well. Okay, and over here you guys can see if you want to check out any of the videos which you're working on, if you just click over here into this drop down arrow, you guys will be able to see all of these options. So make sure once you are saving your resource file, if you want to navigate them directly, to understand, make sure to rename those properly. Okay, so as you guys can see, I want to check out my PNG. Okay, from here, then I will directly click over here, and in my source monitor, I am able to view my PNG. And the same way, if I want to view this particular video, I can come here, I can change the in and the out point over here, and again, import that video. Okay, this is how it basically works. Okay, so let's come here, and now I will just click on to this particular icon. Let's just play this thing up over here. You guys can see the changes over here, and I hope you do have understood this class on how you will be able to edit the workspace before you start working professionally in Davinci Resolve. Okay, so yeah, I hope to see you all in the next chapter, where we'll be understanding about the source monitor in detail, like how the source monitor basically works, how it is quite helpful for us. We'll be learning about all those things over here in detail. So see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye, everyone.
This is Davinci completely empty by default in our edit module. Make sure that you're in the edit tab, because I think by default Davinci opens on the cat tab and you don't want to start messing around. Just go to the edit, make sure, and let's go. The very first thing we must do is, of course, importing all of our footage. We must select and import all the footage from the file that we already downloaded from the PDF file. And if you haven't done it yet, I think it's about time, guys. So do it now. Make sure to save the folder so that you remember the root and you can access it easily. For example, at the desktop, that could be a good start. And now there are a few ways to import our footage into the media pool. You can either hit Ctrl+I or Command+I on a Mac, and once we open our file, let's start importing, for example, the videos. So we go into the videos and then select all of the clips by clicking on the first one, holding Shift and clicking on the last one, or Ctrl+E. There are a bunch of ways. We hit open. Okay, this way we're gonna have all our clips inside our Davinci software, inside the master bin. And of course, I'm gonna do this again for the sound effects in this case, and the same I'm gonna do with the music, right? So open, and now we have everything here thrown in like all crazy, all mixed up: music, songs, sound effect, and the videos. By the way, there's another way to import, just in case. Right click, import media, as you can see, Ctrl+I. So these are the two ways to import our footage. So as I'm saying, by doing this, we just imported all of our footage in this bin, which is named the master. But let me insist again, organization is key. So what we're going to do is create a few different bins so that we have our audio, our Sony camera shots, and the sound effects and the music, of course, separated, so that eventually it will be so much more efficient and easier to find what we're looking for, and we won't be losing time. So for this purpose, we go into our media panel, media pool, just in case it's not open, remember, media pool, and we're gonna create, right click here and hit new bin. You can also do this by Ctrl+Shift+N or Command+Shift+N on a Mac. And we're gonna name this, I don't know, for example, Sony, because it's these car shots were taken with my Sony. So I know that the Sony will be, I'm gonna be selecting all my Sony clips, okay, down until here by holding Shift, first and the last one, and I'm gonna drag it easily into the Sony folder, okay? I'm gonna create another bin for my sound effects, so I know this sound effects are gonna be dragged into the SFX, or here it's the same actually. And finally, I'm going to create another bin, which is going to be the music or the songs, and I'm going to select all the missing ones. By holding Control, I can select the ones that are missing and import them into music. And voila! When I go into the master now, I have everything well separated. So if I just want to go to, you know, another clip that I shot of the cars, I go into here. Or if I want to, you know, look for a sound effect like a turbo engine or something, I go here, and the music here. Look how organized everything is now and how easy it is to find all the shots. I know that you don't understand the importance of this right now, but eventually, someday, you will be thanking me for this. Trust me. So the next step is creating our timeline, because our timeline right now is empty, right? So here also, we have a few ways to create our timeline. We can either right click here, and as you can see, timeline, create a new timeline, or Control+N, Command+N on a Mac. So once we create it, we can leave it like timeline name, we can leave it like this, and hit, oh, before we hit create, use project settings. If we uncheck this use project settings, we'll be able to get into this window, format. And here, for example, as we know we are editing in 4K, we can click here and go to this 3840 x 2160 Ultra HD, which is the 4K resolution that we're going to be editing in today, because all my shots are in 4K. The timeline frame rate, as I shot everything in 24 FPS, we're going to leave it at 24, and this would be safe to hit create. But as I told you in the previous lecture, there's also another way to create a timeline, which is automatically the settings of our clips. Now, very, very important here, when we click on one of our clips, in case we want to know, hey, what is actually the resolution of this clip, what kind of frame rate does it have, we go into the inspector, we go into the file tab, and here it goes. We have the resolution, which is the 4K we just mentioned, the frame rate, careful here because it is 120 FPS. I'm going to be talking about FPS later, don't worry. Which is not the frame rate that we're going to be editing in. And I'll tell you later why. For now, we're going to be looking for a clip, hold on, that has 24 FPS. Like this one, for example, as you can see, 24 FPS. And just by clicking and dragging it down to our timeline, it creates our first timeline. And inside our media pool, here you go, timeline 1, we created automatically a new timeline. You can see it's a timeline because this icon is the icon of a timeline, not like the videos that have this different icons. And now, just to double check, we go to the right bottom corner to the project settings, and we'll see that the settings and the project is again at 4K because it was created automatically. Just double check it just in case. Okay, but let me cancel this very quick, go to the beginning, and let me quickly explain what FPS, frame rates, and all this timelines without making it too complicated is. So, quickly explained, FPS or frames per second means how many frames or photos are in 1 second of your video. For example, let's do it this way. This would be a video that you probably have already seen, and it is shot at 119.888, which is 120 frames per second. This means that for every second that we will be watching this video, inside every second we're gonna have 120 frames or photos that, of course, our human eye will just interpret as a video. Usually video, film, movies, cinema is shot at 24 FPS traditionally. Okay, so I'm gonna look, for example, this shot is shot at 24 FPS. So this means that if you shoot at 24 FPS, like for example, this video, your video will have 24 frames each second. Simple, right? Slow motion generally is shot at 60 or 120 FPS. This is the reason why I shot this in 120 FPS, because I knew I was gonna play with speed ramps and slow it down in post, so I shot it at 120 FPS, as you can see right here. But usually, this is also more advanced, but usually all your shots and all your video should be shot in 24, 25 or 30 FPS, because this is what is most natural to our human eye, which brings most motion blur and looks just better into our human eye. Now that said, usually what you want to do is having a timeline that has the same frame rate as the frame rate that you shot with your camera. So for example, if you shot with a Sony mirrorless or whatever DSLR camera in 24 FPS, then you should have your timeline in 24 FPS. This goes the same way if you're shooting, for example, 4K 60 on your iPhone. You want probably to have your timeline in 4K 60. And if you're shooting in 4K 30, then do it in 4K 30. I am creating a 24 FPS timeline again because not most of the shots, but many shots I shot in 24 FPS, and I want that natural look. And all the clips in 120, I will be slowing them down. You cannot slow down 24 FPS, and I'm gonna show you this also later. One more thing, I forgot previously to create a new bin for timelines. Oh, make sure that you do not create the bin inside the Sony, for example, in this case. Bin, just go into master, and here hit new bin and put timeline, because right now the timeline, I think it just was created here inside the Sony, and I don't want to have it just in case I need to, for whatever reason, look for it later. Okay, so I have another bin with my timeline. Now, before I forget and before we start editing, we have other bins right here, smart bins. And also, if you go to view, show power bins. Power bins are gonna be super interesting. So make sure to check that on the view side, on the view tab, okay? Because power bins, right now I do not, oh yes, I did this from some previous projects. So the power bins are very interesting because you can upload right here some sound effects or some other files that are going to be opened up, and they're going to be there for every single project that you're going to be working on. This means that this will allow you to share that media between different projects, and it's going to be always there, because before in Premiere, every single time I had to import, for example, the logo of my YouTube channel, I had to import it every single time and drag it and all that. And right now I have this power bins, which I know that every single time that I'm going to be editing inside Davinci, they're going to be there. No need to import them again, which is really helpful, you know. And the smart bins, they're a little bit more advanced. I don't really want to talk about them, but maybe in the future, in some other future course. This is very good and very powerful, because once you have, you know, tons of projects, hundreds of shots and everything, you can buy keywords and by metadata create, for example, a folder where I want to have all my close-ups, and all my close-ups will be in a close-up folder. Or for example, all the shots that have some blue in it, and then all the shots with some blue in them will be organized in one folder. This is pretty helpful. I just wanted to let you know how they work. So getting back to our timeline, we already have it created. And remember, if we just want to double check the settings, right bottom wheel, here are all the settings. Okay, now before continuing, let's do something very important, which is saving our project. As for now, it's still called Untitled Project, as you can see. File, Save Project, Control S or Command S. Now Davinci saves from time to time everything that is happening on your project, but you know, those people like me coming from Premiere and all the crashes that happened always there and made us lose so much work we did. Just make sure to save from time to time, just in case, okay? And now, dear students, yes, it's finally time to start editing, so let's go. Hello guys, and welcome to this new section. We're going to be learning now to do the gross edit. I don't really know the name for this, so I just came up with that, and I don't know. It's a way of editing and of cutting that I don't really recommend, and you'll see why in a second. So the first thing, I just dragged down my first clip to the timeline. And by the way, if you want to zoom in or zoom out of the timeline, all you got to do is hit Alt on your keyboard and play with the wheel of your mouse, and this will be zooming in and zooming out of the timeline. If you don't have a wheel on your mouse or something like that, you also have this part of the software where you can be zooming in and zooming out. Now, I'm not doing anything to the clip. All I'm doing is zooming in or zooming out. This is very important. Don't think that I'm cutting or doing anything to the clip. The clip stays the same. The only thing that changes is, of course, the timeline view. Now, once we have our clip here, the gross editing is pretty simple. When we go to the left or to the right of our clip, you'll see that this icon starts appearing. All you gotta do is click and drag, and you can go all the way and cut the clip to wherever you want. For example, let's say I want my clip to stop here because it starts getting blurry. So I leave my marker there, and then I come here, I click and drag and finish it here, and so we have a nice cut. What's the problem of this? When I click and hold and drag this this file, you'll see the white boxes that appear surrounding the video and audio tracks, and this would be the maximum or the total length of the clip. Okay, so the total length of the clip would be the white box. It's as simple as that. So I cannot go any further than this, of course, and I cannot go any further than this, of course, right? Why don't I recommend this way? Because, for example, if we do have two clips here, and let's say I'm cutting this by holding and dragging the clip this way, all of a sudden we have a blank space here, we gotta click it, we gotta delete it, and you know, it's slow. It's kind of slow, and you'll see in the next lectures why and how we can avoid doing that. But just so that you know that you can hold and drag and to cut a clip very easily. In this lecture, we're going to be talking about the in and out way of editing, which is much more efficient. It is faster. It helps cleaning up the timeline. It helps to do a few nice things. One thing that I forgot in the previous lecture is that, for example, you know that we have this preview screen right here, so that if we are previewing or playing around on our timeline, we see what we actually have on our timeline. But if we click twice on our media pool, we'll start previewing our media pool. Now, there's a way that if we close the inspector, the top right corner, we have two screens. This is helpful just in case you're not using the inspector, especially when you're just doing the first edit where you're cleaning up everything, because you have just two screens, and on the left side, the left screen will be the preview of the media pool, right? If I change it here, it will change here, and on the right screen we'll have the timeline preview. So it's just a small tip. Okay, let's open up the inspector again, and now let me show you the in and out. For that, I'm gonna delete everything. So the in and out, how does this work? Well, I double click on a file of my media pool right here, and you see that it starts, of course, previewing right here, and we have a nice bar here. Okay, I don't want to be dragging this too much because I know the sound, especially of this clip. Let me take another clip. Hold on. Maybe this one. Yeah, there's no too much sound. Now, in this clip, you see that you can preview. You have this bar. You can go with a marker around, and there's a way that, for example, let's say I like this clip, especially this beginning part, right? Because I see the logo from the Lambo, and I just want to use this part. So all I gotta do, instead of bringing it down like we did before, look at the timeline, how big this file is, and then you would be looking for the place here, and then you start dragging, and then you gotta go here, and okay, I want to finish off the clip here, so I gotta drag here, and then you don't want to do this for every single clip because it's just not efficient. So the way is double clicking here, and once we say, okay, I want to have it here, you press I on the keyboard, and you see it all of a sudden created like a marker here, and let's say I want the clip to finish off here. I press O. I for in and O for out. Now you see that I got this part of the clip selected, and I just click in the middle of this frame, drag it down, and all of a sudden I have my clip already cut from the in to the out part. Okay, this is pretty interesting because this way you can have a much more clean timeline, and you do this for every single clip, for example this and this, and you can start editing down a timeline without having a super long timeline with 2 hours of footage, right? And it's a great way to do this. And another very nice thing that happens when you do this in and out, you see this thumbnail. Let me zoom in a little bit, like this. You see, these are the two clips we just worked on. You see these white bars that appeared here? Well, this means that we took the clip from the first bar to the second bar, and we dragged it down to the timeline. And it's a nice way, a nice overview to know which part of the clip we have already in the timeline. And there's another thing interesting when we have, for example, this part selected with the in and out, I and O on our keyboard. There's a way, if you're with your mouse on top of this previous screen, you see these two icons right here. This would be video, this would be audio. Imagine there's a terrible audio on this clip, or there's someone talking in the background, and we just want to drag the video and not the video and the audio. So we click here and drag this down, and see it just brought us to the timeline, the video, and not the audio track. We can also do the opposite way. For example, if we're here and we just want the audio for whatever reason, we're going to be doing this, by the way, later with some of the engine and exhaust sounds. So we bring this down, and you see we are only bringing down the sound to the timeline. So now let me quickly do it with a few clips so that we start working actually with our real footage. Well guys, and that would be it. After a few minutes fast forward, I have all the clips and all the parts of the clips cleaned out. However, they are not done to the frame. I mean, I'll still have to do a few cuts here and there, and I'm gonna tell you how to do them in the next lecture. But the most important thing is this is how your timeline will look after you finally clean out everything. And otherwise, if I would be dragging everything right to the timeline, it would be, I don't know, 2 miles long, you know. So this way we have it clean, and yeah, let's jump into the next lecture. Well guys, in this lecture we're going to be using the cutting tools, and these tools are going to be really important. And you may ask yourself, why? And the reason is I have not been super 100% precise with my ins and outs, and that is normal, okay? I've been able to clean up most of the timeline and get rid of the bad footage, but as I said before, I just wasn't 100% precise. Because, you know, you can go frame by frame, and once you have everything on the timeline, see, by clicking the arrows on your keyboard, you can go from left to right, and maybe I need 3 or 4 frames less, so I can go like this and cut it here. So we're gonna be using the selection mode or selection tool, or A on your keyboard, and we're also gonna be using, very important, the trim edit mode, the T. We're also gonna be talking about this blade right here, which is the blade edit mode, the B, but you'll see that the selection mode and the trim mode are the 2 most important. These 2 tools are going to be the most important tools you're going to be using in Davinci. You'll see you'll get faster over time and more precisely, but really the key to be fast and efficient on Davinci relies entirely, and trust me on this, entirely on mastering these 2 tools. So let's start with the selection tool, or A on your keyboard. So for this purpose, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have 2 clips right here, okay? And with the selection tool, it's basically what we did in the clip in the lecture before. We can drag, and as I told you, if we do like this, we have a blank space, we have to ripple delete this, and then everything else also moves. It's kind of slow and boring. By the way, if you wanna undo something, it's Control plus Z on your keyboard or Command Z on a Mac. But there's another much faster way, and it's using the trim tool. So if I select the trim tool or I hit T on my keyboard, look at this. The icon is the same, I can click and drag, but look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. See, all of a sudden I cut the clip to wherever I wanted to have it, and I didn't leave a blank space, so the next clip is still attached to it, and I don't have to, you know, select the blank space, delete it. This may sound a little bit stupid, and you can say, hey, it doesn't take too much time just selecting the blank space and deleting it, but trust me, when you have to do it 500 times, you lose a lot of time. Really a lot of time. So the trim tool, the great thing is, as you can see, look, I can bring also the clip back. It will drag the rest of the clips directly, so I don't lose time. There's another hidden secret, small tip with this trim tool, which is really interesting. If you are, let's say, with this clip, let me zoom in a little bit, you're pointing at the middle of your clip, okay, you click, and look at what happens. You're maintaining the length of the clip. So let's say, for example, you have another clip here, okay? You have another clip here, and the beat of the song goes this way, so this clip has to be exactly this length. It has to have this length, okay? But you wanted to start it a little bit later. You click and drag in the middle of the clip and say, so you're moving the clip. It starts now a little bit later, but you're not affecting the length of the clip. So you still can maintain the length of this clip. Isn't this amazing? So again, let me quickly sum up. You can go to the left of the clip, and as you can see here, you can drag and make it shorter or even longer, okay? And you can also go to the middle of the clip and move the clip around. By the way, this clip, see, if I click it, see the white boxes again surrounding the clip? This would be the total length that I have to play around with for this clip. There's one more thing that you can do with the trim tool, which is pretty amazing. Let me zoom in. You know that if I go to the left of the clip, I can drag. To the right of the clip, I can drag. But what happens if I go in between 2 clips? See that I'm selecting the screen and it's highlighting green. Look at this. I can change the exact point where we jump or we cut from one clip to another. So if it's like this, but I say, hey, I need it really because the song, the chorus of the song hits right here, so I really need the cut to be here. So you select in between both clips and you bring the cut to here. So it automatically cut both clips and brought it down to the point where my red marker was. Isn't this amazing? The other way would be with the regular selection tool, you have to come here, you have to cut this clip, then you have to bring this clip this way, it leaves the blank space, you gotta delete this blank space. No. We make it easier, we select the trim tool, we just click in between, and voila, it's done. I'm telling you, this tool is just amazing. One more thing before I forget it. Remember we just talked about the ripple delete function, which is basically when you have a blank space in between clips, you have to select it, you have to ripple delete by clicking shift backspace, or you can delete it, right? But there's a high chance that when you're editing like this, look at this. If I have to go and click every single blank space, this is terrifying, right? This is terrible. I mean, you can do this, but you lose time. And in big projects, you just end up losing so much time that it gets crazy. Now, there's a way to delete all of these blank spaces with one command. So for this, one thing that I have not been talking about, you can go here, Davinci Resolve, Keyboard Customization, and here you can pretty much put all the commands, select the commands that you want, and make your life much easier. Okay, so we can come up here, and by writing delete gaps in the search tab, you see here edit delete gaps. Now chances that this is empty or it has some other command are high. I don't really remember if I changed it myself or it was like this. Just in case it's empty, you can click on here. I've put this command, which is Control Shift and Backspace, and it will automatically save. So for example, if it's empty, I do Control Shift Backspace, and now I have a new command for deleting the gaps. I hit save. Okay, I close this, and now you're seeing all these gaps right here in between my clips. So I do Control Shift and Backspace, and voila, the magic happened. This is my dream that never came true on Premiere, but here it goes. And remember, if for whatever reason you want to go back, Control Z and we're back. Control Shift Delete, and we have everything like this. I told you that we have also a third tool, which is the blade tool. We can select it or hit B on our keyboard, and this, what it will do is just make a cut on a clip without selecting it. For example, I'm cutting it. Let me uncut it, everything. But if we're working on this clip, for example, and oh, nice drift, by the way, I wanted to finish off here, it's cut, and then I can select, and you know, it's not the most efficient way, but know that there is a tool which you can make cuts without selecting the clip inside a clip. And before we finish off this lecture, take your time going to the keyboard customization, because this is pretty interesting and this will make your workflow pretty fast. There are ways, for example, here, you have some preset keyboard customization, for example, to like me that I'm coming from Premiere Pro. I could select this one and then I would be using on the keyboard exactly the same keys that I was using on Premiere. However, I don't recommend doing this because I don't know, I think switching the software, yeah, the learning curve with the keyboard may be a little bit longer if I'm using by default the keyboard customization from Davinci, but you will see that there's a reason behind everything. I mean, that the trim mode has the T on the keyboard is nice, that the arrow in this case has the A, that the blade has the B. It makes life overall easier and you just get adapted to the Davinci software, in this case much faster. So I really recommend taking your time, going through the keyboard customizations, going through everything here, and you know, just in case you're looking for something specific, you always have the search tab, for example, to cut, ripple cut, and all the commands show up here. So take your time and enjoy the keyboard customization. This will make your life much easier as well. Now let's jump into how to do slow motions in the next lecture. Let's go. Well guys, let's start off with slow motion, something I know you're expecting a lot, and this video is gonna have a lot of slow motion. Now, as I told you in the beginning of this course, all slow-mo should always be shot at least at 50 or 60 FPS. And if you don't understand why, yeah, you know what, let me actually show it to you very quickly. Okay guys, so here's the difference, right? This would be a 24 FPS. You can see it here if you go to file frame rate. There's also, sorry, I have to click this. Frame rate 24 FPS. And there's also another way actually that I forgot to mention before. You know, there are so many ways to do so many things. If you're selecting this clip, you can also go to metadata and it will show you also the resolution and the frame rate right here. So it doesn't really matter. Inside the inspector in file on metadata. Okay. This in any case is 24 FPS and this is how it looks with a slow motion applied, which means at 20% of the original speed. Okay. Let's take a look. Terrible, right? I mean, I can make this a little bit longer, but it's terrible, right? It's like a stop motion. It's like uncontinuate photos. It's terrible. Now let's take a look at what a real 120 FPS, as you can see here, 120 FPS shot does in slow motion. Now look at this and just, oh my lord, isn't this beautiful? I mean, like, look at this. You see it's smooth. Look at this, look at this, look. Oh my. It is smooth, it's beautiful, it's nice, it is, you know, it just feels good to the eye, right? So this is the reason why you basically cannot do slow motion with lower frame rates like 24, 25 or 30 FPS because slow motion, I mean, there are ways to fix this, but overall it just doesn't look too natural, right? And on the other hand, at 120 FPS, even with 50 or 60 FPS shots, we could bring the speed down to 50% or so, and it will play back smoothly. Not as much as 120 FPS, because the higher the frame rate, the more we can slow it down later in post and still have a fluent video, right? Now, that said, I'm gonna tell you how to exactly do this. So let's get back to the beginning. There are a few ways, as I'm saying, like everything on this program, to do the slow-mo, right? Another tip, another small keyboard shortcut is, for example, you wanna have this clip, right? You wanna, for whatever reason, you wanna have this clip in slow-mo, and you just wanna select all the clips instead of doing this, which is a little bit complicated. Instead of doing this to select them all and then move them, because depending on how long this is, you can do Alt plus Y on your keyboard, and from where your red marker is, it will select to the right all the clips. So let's, for example, try it here, Alt Y, and voila, you can move this very beautifully. So we were talking about, I think we can try to do a slow-mo. Let me see. No, this one is not smooth enough. Yeah, this one, the one we were playing around with. So I'm gonna put the marker here, Alt Y, and make some space, because of course if you do a slow-mo on a clip, the clip will get longer, and I'm gonna tell you how to do that. So if we open up the inspector, you'll see that we select our clip and we have all these little tabs here, and we have speed change tab. Okay, inside speed change, it is pretty simple. Okay, so we have 3 arrows, well, 2 arrows and a frost icon. What this means is, yeah, we're gonna apply the slow motion from left to right, which means like from the beginning to the end of the clip. We could also do it the other way, which would make it, look at this, and it's nice too, actually. It's from the opposite direction, from the end of the clip to the beginning of the clip. Look at it. It actually looks pretty nice. And we can do this, which will create, for example, this is a little bit more advanced, but for whatever reason, okay, let me bring this back to normal. If for whatever reason you want to freeze this particular frame, you hit this, and then see, we have a frozen, we have a frozen frame for whatever reason. This may be helpful sometimes if you are doing a review or something, and at some point you just gotta freeze something because you're showing something and you want to talk a voiceover or do something over it, so it's particularly helpful for those situations to do that. But we're not gonna do this, right? So we're gonna maintain the main arrows, and this is the speed. And this is pretty simple. You say, I want to have this shot at 50% of the speed, so you click here, you select this, write in 50, and all of a sudden the clip is slowed down by 50%, which is nice. Yeah, in the case of the 120 FPS, as we see on the metadata, and on the timeline of 24 FPS, as you can see, we can slow it down up to a 20%, because doing simple maths, not Einstein stuff. If we divide 120 by 24, it gives us 5, so we can slow down by 5 times the speed of the clip. Not too complicated. Look at this. Super smooth, right? But one thing happened here that you didn't pay attention to, and it's that the length of the clip that we had originally at 100%, look at this. Let me put it back to 100. The length of the clip is still the same, and in this case at 100% we see the whole drift and then how the car just drives and the other car appears in the background. If we slow it down by 20% and the length of the clip does not change, the clip ends right here and we're still missing the rest of the clip, right, where he just hits the throttle and starts driving like crazy and the other car appears in the background. Now let's get back to 100%, okay? And if we wanted to put it down to a 20% and we want to still see the whole clip and not get it cut, we hit ripple timeline right there where it says ripple timeline, and now we go and hit 20 and blah, all of a sudden we have the full clip again. See, the full clip slowed down by 20%, which means it's 5 times longer than before, right? So remember, if you're doing the slow motion and you want to have the full clip, just hit ripple timeline, okay? This is a very good and easy way of bringing down the speed of your clip and doing a slow-mo, but there are other ways too. Because the problem of this is we have normal clips, then all of a sudden we have a slow clip, and then we have the normal clips again. But we want to do speed ramps and we want to play a little bit around with the speed, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this to how it was originally, okay? With 100% of the speed. So we'll take our selection tool or A on our keyboard. Hold on, let me just give me a little bit of space again here. So we take the selection tool, A, we select the clip and hit Control R. Okay, and you just saw that we have these blue arrows right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. This is gonna be the speed change function, and this is key for doing speed ramps. Look, I want the first part of the clip, let's say, okay, hold on, let me do it this way. I want this part to be fast, and then here, right here, where the nice drift takes place, I want it here to start slowing it down. So all I'm gonna do, we come here where it says 100% that we have this black arrow, we hit the black arrow and we put add speed point. So if you just noticed, something happened here. We got these markers and all of a sudden we have the clip divided into 2 different speeds. Okay, so I have the first part of the clip until here. So I'm gonna have the first part normal at 100 speed, and then I want the second part to be at 25% of the speed. So right now, see? Nice. This starts to look nice, right? We have the car coming in with 100% and then all of a sudden it slows down. And let's say we want from this point to be again at 100% of speed. So we add another speed point, we come to this part right here and we put this at 100%. And now our clip will look something like this. Okay, so it just, boom, it slows down. Nice drift, and then vroom, again at 100% and ciao. So this is a nice way to do some kind of speed ramps without having the ramps actually yet. And we have different times, different parts of the clip at one speed. Nice. And then another speed again. It's pretty good, but we still can do one more thing to have it a bit more professional. Why am I saying this? Well, right now we have a 100% frame and the next one is all of a sudden 25%, and you know, speed ramps, what they do is smoothen the speed transitions a little bit. So let's look up for the speed ramp. So all we gotta do is right click on the clip and click here where it says retime curve. And then we have this. Now let me adjust this a little bit better so we have a little bit more of space. Like this. Okay, so right now we can see that the graph is pretty simple and easy to understand, right? We have our clip at 100%, then it drops all of a sudden to 25%, and then it comes back again at 100%. Now, the speed ramps are there to, as I'm saying, smoothen out a little bit this transition. So what we're gonna do is select our graph in this case, select this white dot right here, and we're gonna click on this icon here, and look at this, all of a sudden, the curve appeared. Now, we can drag and make it smoother or less smoother. Just this will entirely depend on you. But let's make something very easy. For example, something like a smooth in and smooth out. Okay, so that look at this. See? This is a classic speed ramp, guys. Now, it's not as, you know, you're not going from one frame at 100% to another frame at 25%. We just have smoothened this out. And, ta-dun. See? And let's see this. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. This is much, much better. Look at this. This is 100 times better, definitely. So this is how you do actually the speed ramps. Now, we have tons of things open right here, so what we're going to do is right click here again, deselect the retime curve, hit the clip again, Ctrl+R, and we're back to normal. And this is how, dear friends, we just did a speed ramp. Just in case you're wondering, there's this little icon which means that we have been playing around with the speed on this clip. Hello guys and welcome to the transitions lecture. Okay, there are many ways to do transitions, of course, like everything, right? We have one very interesting, and I want to start with this one, that if we were smart enough when filming, we could have done a few movements with the camera that would have given us, you know, even by a regular cut, a great transition and movement. And I've been looking for an example because yes, I was smart for once in my life, and I did this when I filmed this shots. Now, I'm recording this lecture after I've done the whole edit that you will see in the future lectures. Don't worry, you see that it is graded, and so don't worry too much. You'll learn how to do that in future lectures. Now, all I want to show you is, look at this, okay? Okay, have you seen this? This is a just normal transition by cut. It's true that I've played a little bit with the speed in both clips, but what I want to say is that, for example, in this case, we have the camera spinning to the right, right? I did a shot with the camera spinning. I made it with a gimbal, but I am spinning to the right, and I have another shot where the camera is also spinning to the right. So if you play a little bit with the speed and you do a regular cut, you have something like this. And this is as well a transition. It's good, it's nice, it's clean, it's great. And if you play a little bit around with the speed, as you learned in the previous lecture with slow motion and all of that, yeah, you're now able to do things like this. For me, it's a great, clean, and nice transition. Now, sometimes people just don't even do this kind of transitions. I don't know, it's just some creative thing that you can do. But just in case you don't have any action like this, you know, panning the camera to the right and jumping from one shot to another is also possible. If you have not done this, let's go to the transitions right here. We go into the toolbox, we go into the video transitions, and here we go. We have all these different transitions that Davinci brings us. Now, same as before, by hovering a little bit, you can see what actually happens. Let me go and just look for you for another example, another cut. Okay, I have this shot and then this shot, okay? This is a regular cut. Okay, and then let's just hover. Look, this would be a regular dissolve, then you have another blur dissolve. You know, you have tons of different... Oh, this one is not bad. You have tons of different effects. This one is really cool. Now, as I said somewhere in this course, I told you that some creators like to doing, you know, tons of effects and transitions and all that. I am not really a big fan of this, but if you are, just know that, I mean, some of these are really terrible, but they can be creative. Look at this. This can really be creative, so feel free to feel free to play around with them. Some of them are not that bad. So the way that this works, let's for example do the regular non-additive dissolve. I like this one. You just come here and look at this. You drag it on top of both of your clips. Let me zoom in a little bit and center this. You bring this on top of your clips and then ta-da, it's done, right? Pretty simple, not complicated. In case you want to have this transition much faster, you can just come here and with the selection tool you make this much shorter. For example, boom, you see, much faster. Or you want to make it longer, then you make it longer. And there's also, of course, the way in our inspector. If we go to the transition, we have now the transition tab open, the non-additive dissolve that we just added, and we can play around with the frames and seconds, its duration, how you want to start it, where you want to start it. And there are a bunch of settings that you can play around with. And yeah, that's pretty nice. And as I'm saying, you can do this with any effect. Just drop them on both of your clips, and that's how transitions work. Okay, there's one last thing that's a cool thing, that you can create your own preset transitions and save them. And look, for example, I was trying to do this. Let's for example take a look at this one. So we have this one now. And now a beautiful heart comes from the center of the image. Okay, we have this heart here, right? But let's play a little bit around. Let's make this heart, I don't know, red. Let's see what happens. Okay. What happened? Nothing happened. We rotate it a little bit. For whatever reason, we want to have it like 90 degrees like this. And more straightened out. And then we want it to be a little bit shorter. Feather, reverse. No, not reverse. Something like this. Okay, let's say that for whatever reason, you really want to have the heart like this. So we just... Sorry. It's too fast and my computer is going a little bit crazy. Let's do it like this. So, let's say for whatever reason you want to save this. Okay. So what you can do is double click on your transition and see where it says create transition preset. And let's say it hard 90 degree rotation red or something like this. Okay. And then we hit OK, and then we go down. I think it's, where is it? Here, the user, you go to the user video transitions, and I have my heart right here. And let's say I want to use this 5 times on my video, so I drag it to wherever I want to have it. And there you go. You have my own preset heart created. So this is something really cool inside the effects, and just, you know, play a little bit around with them. Some of them are really nice. Some of them just are terrible. Make sure you play around with them. But ones that you're going to be probably using the most are going to be always this dissolves or transitions. And oh, before I forget, I created here, for example, a slow fade out of the image. Don't worry, you'll see the video in a bit. This is my last shot, and just look at the screen, okay? You see that it fades out. Well, you can do this by adding a cross dissolve at the end of your clip. That would do the same. Or you see this white icon right here. It was originally like this. You just can click and drag it. And then what you're going to do is play with the opacity. You see this graph going down? You play with the opacity of this shot. And the same I did at the beginning of this clip. You see that I have a nice transition coming in. You see this? I did this the exact same way. I just wanted the video to start from a black screen. Don't worry, you'll see the full clip in a bit. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I gotta tell you and all you gotta know about transitions. Let's go now into the effects. Well guys, let's now talk about the effects, okay? The effects are pretty simple to use. There are some people that use them a lot, there are some others that don't use them at all. I'm somewhere in between, but yeah, well, let's show it. We have this tab here on the top left corner, which says effects. If it's appearing like this, we can make it a little bit easier, like opening this, clicking here, so we have all the different bins and all the different categories. Okay, so for example, what we're gonna do here is not go to video transitions, because some of these video transitions are just for, well, you can use them as well. I don't know if they're too interesting. I mean, if you want to do maybe a birthday video for your niece, then they are interesting, right? But other than that, it's the effects from the Open Effects tab that you're going to be using also a lot. Open Effects means they are open code, so everyone has access to them. They are by default inside every Davinci software. And I don't know, all you can do is start playing around with them. You can preview them, look at this, by holding your mouse on top of it and then trying the different, you know, you can preview them. If you're not previewing them, all you can do is hit these 3 dots here and select Hover Scrub Preview, okay? So for example, let's do a directional blur, could be interesting. Let me see. I don't know, there are a bunch of See, some of these effects are only available on Studio, but again, the important ones and the ones that you're going to be using most of the time are included on the Studio. Look at this. I mean light rays. So for example, let's say we want to do the directional blur for a second. So all we got to do is select and drag it. I think you can also double click it. Yeah, and it's included here. And what happened on our clip right here? You see the effects tab is now open. And I told you a few lectures ago that it wasn't available to be selected or clicked, but now it is. And we can start playing around with all the different settings inside this directional blur. In this case, for example, we have the blur strength, we have the blur angle, which is really interesting because now it is going like, look at this. You can select the angle. I think the nice angle would be something like this. I'm gonna do something nice in a second, so don't worry. Blur type, yeah, we can have, you know, play a little bit around with all the different settings. Global blend, I really don't know. Oh, okay, it's something like this. I would never do this, but I want to do in this part of the drift that the directional blur kicks in. So what I gotta do, I bring this down to 0, and we're gonna play with keyframes. Keyframes may sound a little bit, you know, you may be scared talking about keyframes, but they are very simple to use, and I'm gonna show you how to use them. So these are the keyframes. Right now the blur strength is at 0, and I'm gonna select it. Okay, and I just created a keyframe. And now I'm gonna go a few frames forward. Okay, let's say 3 or 4 frames. And I'm gonna increase this to something like, I don't know, 0.5 or something like this. Okay, and then I'm gonna go, I don't know, 10 frames. Or a few more frames. To where it starts accelerating, and now I wanna hit a keyframe again. I go 3 or 4 keyframes and I bring this down to 0. And what I did now, guys, look at this. Let's see if it was. I don't know if this is interesting to anyone, but maybe we put some nice music in here and we just created an in and out, as you could see, an in and out effect. Okay, let me actually, sorry for this bad example, let me show you a good one. For example, give me a sec, I'll look for a nice part. Okay guys, we have this clip here. Okay, I just muted the track, but okay, I want to introduce, let me mute it again. I want to introduce, when the car comes close to the camera, some shake. Okay, so that we have the feeling that, you know, everything is super blurry and shaking. So we're gonna go up here, look for shake, camera shake, okay, and we're gonna apply it onto our clip. Now, let me see. Okay, the camera is shaking, but not too much. And again, I want the shake to start right here, when the car is passing by the camera, and then stop it probably here. You see the camera is shaking, right? Okay. So what we're gonna do is, let me see. Okay, we see that the camera starts shaking. So I'm gonna put everything down to 0. with all the settings. But again, the kind of video that we're doing here today, look at this, for example, another very quick example. I made this shot twice, one very calm, just in case I wanted to do some, you know, I don't know, slow-mo or whatever, and another one that would fake shakiness, okay? I filmed this shaking the camera on purpose so that I could add some sound of an engine and that it would represent that we are 200 mph on the highway, right? But if we wouldn't have done this, we can take this one, add the camera shake, okay? And then, you know, increase everything as we saw. And now all of a sudden it looks like a shot from inside, and we add, for example, hold on. See, look at this, all of a sudden with a little sound clip, we just have the feeling that with the camera shake, we're just, I don't know, at a highway at 300 mph, right? So these effects will allow you to play, and you can be as creative as you want. Well guys, let's now talk about titles. This is gonna be very simple and very easy. On our Effects tab, we go to Titles, and we have a bunch of titles here. You also have the Fusion titles, but these are a little bit more advanced, and as I'm saying, for now we're gonna be focusing on this ones, and it's super simple. I mean, you have a preview here from where the titles are gonna be, and then you can just drag them on top of your clip where you want them appearing, and for example, where it says title here on our inspector, we can change and say, hey, and go to sample where it says sample, and my name is Alex. Right, and it's super easy. I mean, you can change the font, you can change pretty much the color, you can put it to whatever color you want, you can change the size, you can change pretty much anything you want, okay? So there's not too much, look at this, you can move this around, you can make it bigger, right? So there's not too much of a secret. And if you want to have a title from scratch, like a basic scratch title, you just position it here and the same goes. So you can write whatever you want, hello, and change all the family, the fonts and everything. It's super simple. The nice thing is, same as you can do on videos and audios, you can do a nice cross dissolve in, cross dissolve out. So for example, see, it appears slowly in, and it goes slowly fade out. So there's not too much to talk about. There's titles, yeah, you can create, you can be creative, you can put them on a black background, you can put them on top of your video, you know, be creative. Just the last lecture for the transform, reframing and everything, and I really haven't been talking about this because I thought everyone would know, and honestly it's super simple, but let me quickly go through it just in case, because there are a few functions and a few tools that are super interesting. Now, if we go to the inspector again, we select our clip, we go to the transform tab, you can see there are ways to do zoom in, zoom out, we can, you know, change the position of the clip, we can rotate it, we can, you know, change the pitch, the yaw and everything, we can flip it, super simple, okay, it's just by playing around with it. And also with the cropping, we can crop it and all that pretty easily and nice, right? But I want to talk about this little tool right here, because if we select it, look at this. This is a dream come true for all of us that are coming from Premiere, right? There's a simple way where you can do whatever you want. Look at this. With your shot, this would be the transform, and if we click on this small arrow, we go into the crop, and this is, trust me, a dream come true. Look at how easy we can crop all the parts from our shot that we want. What it basically makes is, you see these two squares right here, right? The green and the red. And this means where the shot will start is on the green and where it will end is on the right. So 1 second, let me show you a clip which will be a little bit easier to understand. Let me do it. And you can adjust. See, you can also include some motion and everything, which is pretty nice. So let's say we want to have the green, the shot starting at the whole wheel, and then I want to finish it just at the logo. Okay, let's see how it goes. You can be super creative with these tools, right? And that's it. If you want to just deactivate it, just click again and you're back to normal. And also, one of the nice things, when we talk about stabilization, for example, let me look for a clip that is very unstable. Okay, this shot, for example, is very unstable. Even though I shot it with a gimbal and everything, it could have been much smoother, right? So what we're gonna do is add stabilization, and all we gotta do is open up the tab of stabilization still in the inspector, hit stabilize. It will analyze. Look at how fast this is. On Premiere this would have taken 300 days. Okay, much smoother. Look at this, how smooth this is, right? And we can pretty much do this on any clip. For example, this one is also a little bit unstable, so let's bring the smooth perspective, stabilize. It analyzes super fast. This is a dream, honestly. And let's see, super stable. Look at this. Look at how stable. Oh my god, this is amazing. And all inside DaVinci, no extra effects, nothing. Super nice and stable. And honestly, if you don't know which mode to use of these three, just test all three of them and take the one that works the best. In my experience, the perspective is the one that works the best most of the time, so just leave it in perspective. This is way more advanced, but in case you are in the future adding some kind of animation or something and you need it to be transparent, know that composite is the way where you can add your stuff. And this is it for this section, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Now let's jump and talk a little bit about soundtrack. Well guys, welcome to this new section all about the soundtrack, and we've only been talking about the video and image, but as I said in the beginning of this course, the big forgotten part is the soundtrack. So don't underestimate this, okay? So the first thing we want to do is of course go to the tab of the media pool right here and go to the sound effects and music that we just created in the beginning. So we're gonna be using a song. I give you a bunch of them. I don't know, for example, let me listen to this. No need to repeat, run up on me, watch you. Okay, let's take for example this song to start, and I'm gonna tell you a few examples. And I've taken these songs from Artlist. Okay, Artlist is a platform which delivers good quality music by artists that are not really known, and it has no copyright. I mean, it does have a copyright, but I'm paying a monthly fee on Artlist so that I can use those songs. And for you, they are free. Of course, I give you them for free. You don't have to pay. But very quick, you gotta be careful with the song that you apply on a project or on a video if you want to publish that later. For example, you cannot use a, I don't know, Justin Bieber song and upload this video to YouTube, because YouTube is going to say, hey, what are you doing? The song has a copyright, so I'm going to turn down your video. So you want to either go to free and Creative Commons songs or music that are free for everyone to use, or this kind of websites like Artlist, Epidemic Sound and all of them, where you pay a monthly fee and they give you the permission to use their songs always for free. You don't pay for each song or for a copyright to be publishing that, okay? So just as a tip, be careful with all this copyright stuff. And yeah, let's say for example, it goes the same way as on a video. We have this right here, and let's say for example we want the song to be starting for whatever reason we want the song to be starting right here. So we can hit I on the keyboard and for example until there, the O, and we can drag this down and we have the song starting right at where we chose it. So there's this in and out, that the same way you can do it on the video, you can also do this of course and the audio. And then here comes my recommendation, okay, because this is important. There are two ways again to do this, and my recommendation is always to sync to the music. I mean, pretty much any audiovisual piece of art that you will find out there that has music or songs or sound effects, they are of course synced at some point to the beat, to where the drums hit, to where the guitar starts, or whatever, right? They're always synced. And there are people that start editing their video and then apply the song afterwards, and for me this is kind of hard, because what I like doing is doing it the other way, the opposite way. First the music and the song, and then adding all the clips according to the beat. This is no right or wrong, you can do it both ways, just test them out. But I must say, usually I do projects, right? So either the client gives me a specific mood song or whatever, or if I have to do it myself, even before filming, I go through all of the possibilities that I have. I start testing songs in my head, and most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, I have a specific song already before even filming. This may sound stupid, but the way I'm gonna film is gonna be adapted to that song too and all that, but well, this is a little bit more advanced. The thing is, I'm saying, use a song first, this is my recommendation, and then add the clips on top of that song and sync them to the song. And this is the easy way to put a song on the timeline and then just adding to the beat. And it's actually the best way to learn, I think. And let me show it to you quickly. So I took this song, I gave you a few different types of songs, right? One was rock music, another one was, I don't know, some rap beat, so feel free to do whatever you want. Let's see how this looks.
What told the future? Who knows? I don't do it for the likes.
Okay, let me quickly take the whole song. So I didn't do it before, and now we have the full song. The full song would be something.
Everywhere I go, the people.
Okay, we want the song to start right here. Same as we did on the video, you can also drag here and get to the beginning of the song, right?
Everywhere I go.
We zoom in a little bit, we see that now it would be to the beat, so the song starts right where the clip starts, okay?
Everywhere I go, the people.
And for example, the beat goes bum. Here we can do another. I'm gonna do this very quick. This is not necessarily the final version, okay? And every time that we have a beat, I'm just gonna put a different and a new clip, okay? So this is gonna be looking something like, for example, this. Let's see.
Everywhere I go, the people really wanna know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare when they see me. If you said it once, no need to repeat. Run up on me, watch you fall to your knees. Tip my hat.
Okay, it kind of looks already.
Wanna know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare when they see me. If you said it once, no need to repeat. Run up on me, watch you fall to your knees.
Yeah, it goes more or less to the beat, and we start having some kind of nice video, right? And then a few things that I want to show you before we actually start doing our project and everything. Let's zoom in here. Let's make this a little bit bigger so that we have a better view. Now, you see this white line. I don't know, let me try to show it to you. You see this white line right here. This white line is the volume. It is by default at 0.0 dB, but by clicking, there you go. But by clicking it up, you can make it louder, and by bringing it down, you can bring the volume down. Now, usually I always tend to go -3 to -6 dB, just to, I don't know, I have the feeling that the music is always too loud.
Everywhere I go,
See, if I bring it down to -16,
the people really wanna know who.
it goes super quiet. So, to change the volume, this is a good way to do it for the whole track. There's also the way, of course, we can do it in the inspector right here. We have the volume, you can, look at this, do the same thing. You can pan it left or right. For example, you just want to have the music on the left. Look at this.
Who I is and who I be. They stop and stare.
Okay, so this will entirely depend on your preferences. You can also have an equalizer, which we're going to be talking in the next lecture when we go through the sound effects. There's actually a way to make like the famous cross dissolve. If, for example, the music starts too strong
Everywhere I go,
and you want it gradually coming in, we can see this white thing here, this white marker. We can take it like this. Look at this. And then we'll see what happens.
everywhere I go, the people really want.
See that it comes gradually in, and then you can, of course, take this white dot and smoothen it out and do it all the way you want.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know.
Isn't that amazing? I just love this kind of effects. I love them. So there's a way to smoothen it out gradually. Or for example, at the end of the video, let's say that your song ends like this. Wait. This would be terrible because the song just ends very abruptly, right? So we do the same and we start a few seconds before doing this, gradually going down. For example, like this. This is amazing. See? This is a very easy way to play around a little bit with your sound. And of course a soundtrack can get very complex if we start putting sound effects, pans, sound transitions and all that, but I'm going to be using just a couple of engine sounds that will give it some nice touch. And my tip here is for you to test it and repeat and explore the possibilities of sound music on your videos. And trust me, there are professional people that just work on soundtracks, as you can understand, so the possibilities are limitless. Now let's go into the sound effects. Well guys, sound effects are pretty simple, but again, possibilities are limitless. So when we're here, I told you at the inspector you can do the basic things, but we also have inside the effects tab, of course, audio effects, right? Fairlight effects and VST effects. The VST effects, maybe you don't even have this one. This is an effect that I installed myself, so don't worry. Fairlight effects, you have pretty much all the effects you need. For example, modulation, you have reverb, you have anything that you would be using. Now, these things are interesting, especially if you have a voice over or something like this, or an off voice or stuff like that. On a song, you won't be using them too much, but there's a few things that I can show you, actually, a few tips. For example, if we go to the shot that we had before, let me mute this a sec so that I can find this shot, for example, where we have all our speed ramps. See that it goes, we still have this hold on, this directional blur. Let me turn this up. For example, here we have this moment where it goes in slow-mo, right? So let's imagine that we have the song right here, like this. And we want to give it a little touch right at the part where it is in slow-mo, right? It would be from, I'd say, more or less from here. So we use our blade and we cut the song right here until here where the regular speed comes back again. Now we have this part, and for example, this is very simple. It's a trick. We really want to have the song in that part some, without the higher frequencies, to give it a little bit more of a feeling. So we hit the equalizer, and for example, let's take off these frequencies. Let's see how it sounds. Okay, look at this, look at this. I just made a few changes here. I increased a little bit the lower frequencies and I completely deleted the higher frequencies, okay? So, look at this. It's a nice touch. You can do this a little bit even more like this. Hold on. Like this. Brought me next level prosperity. I think it's nice. You can play around with this. But what's the problem here? We have the same problem that we had before on the speed ramps, that we're coming from a normal song into a completely edited part of the song, so we want to smoothen this a little bit out. So we can go into the audio transitions and have a crossfade, for example, 0 dB, and we apply this on both parts of the clip. Look at this now. Much better. Look at this. Look at this. Amazing. I really love it. So you can smooth out. So what you want to do is always adapt both video and image to give the viewer a great experience. You can be, as I'm saying, as creative as you want, but just whenever you're editing, editing is also an art. It's not just making a few cuts here and there and smashing a song on top of it. The montage, the edit has a purpose. So think a little bit of this and think how you can make a video more pleasant to the viewer, okay? Davinci has become very popular in the past few years because of its powerful color tools. People have been talking only good things about the workflow, the ease of use, and the endless possibilities with this software. Davinci's Color tab is a super advanced tool. I'll be making a whole separate course only about color. In this course, as it's a beginner course, I'm going to show you the basics so you understand how it works, and I'll give you all the tools to put out a great video. The most important thing I want you to understand is the difference between color correction and color grading, and why the correction must come before the grading. Color correction is not a mistake. I mean, it's not like I should have avoided this or that when I was filming. Color correcting is an essential part of editing. And because we're constantly shooting different types of shots, the sun moves, we change camera angles, and we have small screens, we want eventually all of our footage to be corrected, balanced, and equal. In color correction, we talk mainly about three things: exposure, contrast, and color balance. Simple, right? Well, after this process we may add our LUTs, our looks, or any other presets we do have. Color correcting will be the key difference to have something good looking. You'll be going from just someone that films and smashes a teal and orange LUT on top of it to someone that actually knows how to do something cinematic, good, and balanced. Now let's start inside Davinci. Yes, I know this is the first time probably that you see this, and it makes you a little bit dizzy. You get dizzy. It looks like an airplane cockpit, right? But don't worry, same as the airplane cockpit, it really looks way more complicated than what it truly is. And I'm going to show you all the different parts right now, from left to right again, and you'll see that it's not as complicated as you think. Now, the first thing is we have here our LUTs, or the media pool. We're going to be working with LUTs because we're in the color tab, right? And you have LUTs that come predefined by default on Davinci. LUTs, I'm going to be talking about the LUTs in the next lecture, what they are, how to use them and everything. But you have some preset LUTs, for example, for DJI, different drone color profiles and everything. Don't worry too much about this. Just remember that you have the LUTs tab and the different LUTs in here. Now, we have right here all of our clips. If you don't see them, make sure to click here on clips. Maybe the timeline is appearing. The timeline right now bothers me a little bit because I don't really need it right here, so I'm going to turn it off and leave the clips, because this way we can have a nice overview of the different clips that we are editing. Down here, all these crazy colored things. Well, we're going to be talking about this one here. These are the primaries, the color wheels, and maybe later also on the log wheels, which have shadows, midtones, and highlights. But basically we're going to be talking about how to lift the shadows, how to play a little bit around with the midtones, and how to play a little bit with the highlights. Don't worry, we're going to be going into detail in the grading lecture about this. So it's just things that we're going to be playing around to get to the point where we want. The waveform. If it's still very different, we go into the three dots right here, and we go into the waveform scale style. Leave it at 10-bit or 8-bit. I don't know what you have, but don't go into 12-bit. We hit this adjustment settings, and you may have it something like RGB or something. I'm not sure. Just go into the Y, deselect colorize if you have it colorized, and you can play a little bit around with the amount of waveform and gradical you are watching. So make sure that you see something very similar to this. Okay, we still have this little nice part here, which is going to be the notes. If you don't have it, just make sure to click on notes. This is where we will be creating all our different steps in order to color correct and color grade. Again, we're going to be going into the detail in the next lecture about this. And finally, of course, a preview screen, which is super easy to understand. It's a preview screen of what we are editing. And for example, in case we're editing something, it will be automatically applied on here. Oh, look at this. We have a nice LUT. Preview of the LUT. You can see how it changes everything. This is a nice preview. Okay, so now let's finally start and do the first color correction. Well, hello guys, and welcome to this color correcting section and lecture. I know some of you are really excited about this one. I am excited as well because I'm really excited to teach this. And today we're working with notes. As I told you in the previous lectures, the color tab is so powerful because we can work with notes. Notes are actually really simple. We can create some new notes by hitting Alt-S, and basically you have to imagine this being a timeline of the clip. So notes are read from left to right, which means that the changes you do on the first note will come first, then the second changes that you do on the second note will come later. This is quite important because, as I was saying in the beginning, and if you listen carefully, it's not the same to color or color grade your footage before or after color correcting it. Okay, and I'm saying this because let me quickly show it actually to you. If I would, I think one of the LUTs that you have on your free PDF that I gave you and you download is the Menorca, and we can apply this on the first note, and even though it looks a little bit better than before, it still looks like garbage. It's too flat, it's washed out, it's not saturated, there's missing contrast, it's not looking good. But let me show you very quickly. If I color correct this and then I color grade it after this with the same LUT, which is Menorca, you'll see the difference in a second. Now we're talking, guys. Now you look, it's different. The blacks are really black. We have a little bit more of, you know, color. It's more saturated. It looks overall super good. And the same goes for the Kansas. The Kansas one is a little bit more exaggerated. Let me put this down a little bit. We'll go through this later anyway, so don't worry once we grade. But I wanted to show you the difference from this and what we saw before, right? So let's go step by step. So we're gonna reset everything. And let's start. Okay, let's create a new note, right? This one and another one, because today we're going to be working with two notes. Okay, we're going to be using the first one as color correction. So let me name it. Let's say correction. Okay, and the second one we're going to be naming it color. Okay, for the color grading that we'll do in the next lecture. But for now, I need you to understand a few things from the color correction so that you guys can do this process the right way and make an amazing output. So in the case of our shots here today, they were shot in a very, very flat profile. I think you can see this. I'm not trying to get too technical, but you can clearly see that all the shots are desaturated. You know, they're missing saturation, they're less contrasted, and overall super flat. I mean, you know that this doesn't look good. And I do think that the color correction and the color grading should always be done the very last thing, once your whole video edit is done and edited and adjusted to the music and everything. So what we're gonna do today is, as I'm saying, fixing this before color grading it. There's only actually one way to color correct properly your shots. This isn't like subjective like the color grading where you can do whatever you want. You know, you can put some more blues, some more reds in it. No, color correction means bringing the image to a point where all the shots that are coming look the same way. They are correctly exposed, they have the right light, they have the right highlights, the right shadows, the contrast is correct. And as I'm saying, this was shot with the Sony a7S III, that's the camera that I use, in a very flat profile. Okay, we can do this two ways. First, manually, like playing around with the highlights, midtones, the contrast, and the shadows. And let me quickly show this to you, okay? So in this case, for example, we would go down here. And you remember the waveform that I told you before? This is a visual representation of the light that is on our image, okay? So as we can see here, what you want to do is always have this as broad from 0 to 100% as you can, okay? And right now we can see that this is very flat, this is very low. We need to get those highlights up, and these lines here, if this dots would touch the 0, this would mean we have pure black in the image, and if they touch 100%, the top line, it would be pure white. And we need to move in between 0 and 100. The best thing is always try not to touch it, like stay at 5% and 95% or so, but let's do it. So the lift or the shadows, as you can see, this black dot will talk about the shadows. If we move this, look at this. You see how it affects the image and how it affects the waveform. So it's a good start to bring this a little bit down to try to get our blacks really black. Now, you see the difference? They are gray now, but if we change it right here, they are more black, and we're gonna be touching this. Now, the midtones, we wanna put them a little bit up so that we have the, as I'm saying, the visual waveform a little bit more expanded. And now let's go to the highlights, because this is where there's most of the game in this case to do. Now, what we just did was try to a little bit expand this waveform and to put the shadows, the highlights, and the midtones. Now, the offset, this one, would mean that if you have a super dark image, we can take all shadows, midtones, and highlights and bring them and make them lighter. Okay, as you can see, the waveform, it moves the whole thing. But for now, we're good like this. Okay, now we're gonna put some contrast. Okay, so contrast is changed here with says contrast. Let's increase a little bit the contrast. See how the waveform expands? This is what we're looking for, to a certain point, not too much. But now you can see we're closer to 0, we're closer to 100. Here is, this part is probably the glass of the car, and it's almost touching 100, so this is almost white and blown out. We're close to what we're looking. Okay, and also in color correction, one of the things that comes into the game is the temperature of the color, temperature of the shot. This can be either bluish or either more warm and orangey. Okay, so sometimes, you know, when you are filming outside and you run inside, you see suddenly everything very yellowish and all that, and this is fixed by the temperature. Let me show it. See, we can go from very cold tones to very warm tones, and again, we're not color grading, we're still color correcting. So this would be, let's bring it back to 0. And there's a nice tool here, which is the color temperature picker, in this case the white balance. And if for a fact we know, and we have some white in the image, for example, it was a very cloudy day, the reflections of the glass were pure white, so I can take this tool, click on this, and it will automatically correct me. The white balance that I put that day was pretty accurate. It just moved to -2.5, which is fine. Right now I see some of the highlights a little bit too blown out, and for specific, I don't really want to get too much in detail, but we have also the primaries, which are really helpful because, as you can see, shadows, midtones, and highlights, and we can here just touch the highlights and just touch the midtones. And as you can see on the waveform, it isolates pretty much, if I'm touching the midtones, it isolates the highlights and the shadows. So there's a little bit, you can be a little bit more accurate here, okay? But for now, I do think that we have a pretty decent image. And there's missing still a little bit of saturation, okay? So let us increase here the saturation to get this really real red of the Ferrari, right? More or less something like this. Now, I really want you to see the difference, See the difference? By hitting Alt and D, we can bypass this. And we went from here. This is what we were looking at before. Everything, the whole course, we've done it with this. It didn't look so bad, right? But once we color corrected, look at how awesome it looks right now. And still, I think the highlights are a little bit blown. We can just try to get down a little bit this and increase a little bit the contrast. So, isn't this just crazy? So we just color correct this in a manual way. Once you learn how to do this and you play with the waveforms and you kind of look at more and more footage and you learn how to do this is pretty quick, okay? In a minute you can do this. However, I gotta say the second way of doing this is, let me very quick reset this. Many cameras or drones, and well, the manufacturers actually of those brands, they release LUTs, color correcting LUTs. And what they do is they just transcode it so that from a very flat profile, you get a very nice and color corrected image. So for example, Sony gives us this 4 LUTs that once you apply them, look at this, we already have it color corrected. It's a little bit dark for my in my opinion, but we can, as I told you, the offset goes, shadows, midtones, and highlights, we bring everything up. So you see, with just applying one LUT, we can get to the point where we want it. Why, you may ask yourself, why would I be shooting in flat profile? Well, very basically and easily explained, when I'm shooting in a flat profile, technically the camera gains more information because it has more midtones, more gray areas, so they can interpret later in post, later in the software we can interpret much better the colors. It's a little bit, you don't really have to do this if your camera does not have it anyway. Let's say that professional film and professional filmmakers, we like doing it in a flat profile because we gain a little bit more information for the sensor. However, if we do this, we have to manually color correct it because the camera is not doing it automatically for us. So Sony in this case has given us these different LUTs. As you can see, they are a little bit different, but they color correct your image in a good way. Here, for example, DJI does this too for some of its flat profiles from the drones. They are very, very similar, all of them, but yeah, we're using the Sony. And as I'm saying, the LUT is not magic. We just still have to adjust it, as I had to adjust a little bit the offset, which is the exposure of the image because it was too dark. So don't think that LUTs are gonna make your life instantly much easier. It's true that they do to a certain point, but there are still some tweaks here and there that you gotta do, okay? And now that we have a well-corrected shot, let me try to make this a little bit bigger so you can enjoy this amazing Ferrari a little bit better. Now it's time to color grade, guys. So let's go. Hello guys and welcome to the color grading lecture, probably the one that you are expecting the most and the one that excites me as well the most to teach, like the one before. So color grading, dear friends, is an art. It's pure art. It can be really complicated, it can be really simple. And as I said before, this is entirely subjective. Some people like it one way, some others like it the opposite way. For example, typical Michael Bay movie has a very teal and orange colors, classic Hollywood style. And for example, Almodovar saturating reds and giving that sepia old style color to his movies. So it's entirely subjective. You're free to do whatever you want. There is no right or wrong. Nobody can tell you, hey, this is wrong, because it is what you and just you like. This is entirely up to you. It gives the look, it gives the mood, and the final touch to a full experience for the viewer. This is very important. As I'm saying, Almodovar has a very unique style, and there are so many directors out there that have unique styles, and this is just personal, okay? Again, same as before, we have two ways to do this. Either tweaking everything manually, which we'll do in a second, or going the easy way and just applying some LUTs. Here, I would recommend you to experiment and do all changes here and there and play with the graphs and play with the curves and everything. But I know it can be complicated and frustrating, at least in the beginning. And most of us filmmakers, we do use our own LUTs most of the time because we have a certain experience of many projects and different situations. And more or less we know what kind of LUT and what kind of style will apply to each one of those shots and projects. And so yeah, we do use shortcuts, but still, as I'm saying, every single video needs specific changes and specifics that you have to do. LUTs are basically, well, it stands for lookup tables, and they're basically a shortcut file to certain changes and tweaks in color that you can apply to a shot. Inside my creator free bundle you already downloaded, as I told you before, there were two LUTs, Kansas and Menorca. And Kansas being a very cold and dark LUT, and Menorca totally the opposite, closer to the classic teal and orange. And these are shortcuts to a certain look that you can apply on top of an entire video to give it that final look in just 2 seconds. So very easily said. In this case, for example, Menorca, right? We're gonna apply it on the second node. Look at this. I don't know if this warm look is the right look for a video, in this case of the mountains and all that. This LUT would look nice if you're in a beach or something like this, but I don't have the feeling that it really fits too good. However, the Kansas gives us this cold, mountainy look, right? So let me apply the Kansas, okay? And as you can see, the image is a little bit blown, so we gotta correct it a little bit back, as I told you before. We go with the offset a little bit down, and yeah, it looks a little bit better now. This is powerful. Even though I think the one that I liked the most was my Athens LUT. Because still Kansas, look at the difference of the road. The Kansas is still a little bit too orangey, and the Athens is a little bit more bluish. But what we can do is actually take our Kansas LUT and, the temperature, move it a little bit down towards the blue. And I think I like it this way a little bit more. And even playing a little bit with the saturation to bring those, look at this, to bring those reds and oranges and especially the greens in the background. Now we have a look that I certainly like. But what's the catch of using LUTs? Because, right, I mean, if LUTs are so simple and you just smash them on your project and you start using them, they look well. Well, if you've already experienced with LUTs, you may have seen that very often the LUT does not look perfect. In fact, in most of the time, it looks terrible. Just like the thing that just happened, right? I had to tweak it because it just wasn't looking good. And this is because you probably haven't either corrected properly your shot before, or because every single shot, as I'm saying, is different, and applying a teal and orange or a Kansas LUT, in this case, on a shot outdoors with a Ferrari or another shot indoors with an old lady sitting on a chair just won't look good. Right, so as I'm saying, every single project and part of those projects needs a better understanding and tweaking of everything, right? And this is why it's always good to tweak the LUTs when you apply them, or having the knowledge to do everything manually. And let's start with the two LUTs that you downloaded and how to import them. It's actually very easy. All you gotta do, you have two ways, as always. You right click on LUTs, open file location, or the wheel at the bottom right, we hit project settings, we go to color management, and right here we can hit open LUT folder. Okay, this will open up the LUT folder. It's as simple as that. All you gotta do is copy paste the two LUTs that are on my PDF and the file that you downloaded, and put them in here. And again, there's ways to organize. So what I would do is create a new folder, name it Alex Assen LUTs or something like this, like I did here, and inside you can just copy paste all the LUTs. This, by the way, are all 12 of my LUTs that I use for my projects. And yeah, it just, if by any chances you want to have them all, you have the link in your PDF file. But that said, once you import them, it is very important to hit update lists, and once you update the lists, you hit save. And then, ta-da-da-da, you will have them available right here. I think this actually looks pretty good already. I like it. What we could do now, for example, I'm going to show you a few ways to copy paste this look to the rest of the clips. I must say, again, if you copy paste on the whole project, let's say, you'll be going still from frame or shot to shot, tweaking all the different shots, because I shot everything in manual, so some shots will be overexposed, some others will be too dark, etc, etc. But it's a safe start. So what we gotta do is, for example, we want to select this 5 clips. So we select the first one, we hit shift on the keyboard, and then we select all 5 of them. I want them to have the exact same color as this one. So with the wheel of my mouse, I click on the one that I've already edited. Look at this. And all of a sudden, all my clips are color corrected and color graded the same way. But this is a problem, because with the color grading, imagine that you open this project a few days later and say, you know what, I think I don't like the color grading that I did on this one. You'll have to go clip by clip, changing everything manually, or you'll have to copy paste everything again, and it's a pain, right? So there's one thing that we can do which is really interesting, and we go back to our edit tab down here. And for example, what we can do right now is create an adjustment clip. So what we're gonna do is, in our toolbox, we're gonna search adjustment clip. As you can see here, we're gonna drag an adjustment clip on top of our clips. We're gonna make it as long as all our clips, okay? And this adjustment clip, once it's created, right now it's empty, you go into the color tab again, and here it is, adjustment clip. So what you can do is do all the changes on this adjustment clip. What will this do? Well, let me show you very quick. I'll put again the color correction. I create a new node and I put my Kansas LUT, and we'll have to tweak this, as I'm saying, because it doesn't look really good right now. If we have put this on the adjustment clip, if we go back, we have the whole video color corrected and color graded the way we did on the color and adjustment clip tab, right? So this is a nice way. There is actually another way to do this if we don't have an adjustment clip. Hold on, let me go back, delete this adjustment clip, and go back to color. And you see these two balls right here, these two dots. Right now we're at the clip nodes, but we can also go to timeline nodes, which means that we can create here a bunch of nodes the same way. And right now we will be affecting the whole timeline, as you can see here, okay? So if I put another time the same on the whole entire timeline, we'll have all our clips color corrected and graded the same way. So this is nice. However, as I'm saying, this is still better than copy-pasting everything to all the clips like we did before, because as I'm saying, if at some point I say, you know what, I don't like the Kansas LUT anymore, I want to use the Menorca LUT, you can just change it and voila, all of a sudden your whole project changed to the Menorca LUT, right? It's much easier, it's faster, it's better, it's everything. And this is pretty much it, guys. I told you that we would do some manuals, so what we can do, let's do it with this clip. Okay, let's find if we have a nice shot somewhere here. Okay, I'm gonna be again putting the color correcting LUT, sorry, this one. Okay, so this is now color corrected. I think there's a little bit of saturation still, and a little bit of saturation and contrast missing, like this. Okay, we create a second node for the color grading, and manually you see the shadow, midtones, and the highlights. Remember, we're at the log primary wheels. You can do it as well on the regular primary log wheels or color wheels. So if these are the shadows, you know, for example, the typical classic Hollywood movie style shot is teal and orange, and they go with the shadows really teal, so we can do this. Well, this would be too much. We go a little bit like this, and we go with the highlights to a more orange style. Oh, hold on, because this is super sensitive, as I'm saying. Let me try 1 sec. Yeah, we're gonna do it better with the primaries log wheels, okay? So with everything reset. By the way, I didn't tell you, all these arrows in a circular way, if you, for example, mess up everything and you have done tons of changes here and there, and it all looks rubbish, there's a way of hitting this arrow and you reset everything. And this arrow, you'll find this arrow everywhere, here and there and there. So for all the changes you do inside of Davinci, there's this arrow to reset everything. Okay, so the shadow, let's go more into the teal look. You see how it changes? Hold on, let me close this. You see how it goes more into the blue. The shadows, this black starts looking a little bit blue. The forest, the dark parts of the forest start looking a little bit bluish. And the highlights, as I was saying, a little bit more into the teal and into the orange. Okay, this looks terrible, but still we can tweak it a little bit and it starts looking a little bit better. This is the manual way, and you can of course do it also with the curves. For example, you want to add a little bit more of contrast, and you, for example, the reds, you want more reds or less reds, you can change it and tweak it here. Look, now it starts looking like a Transformers movie, right? So this would be the manual way, but again, this may be a little bit too complicated if you're not familiar with this, if you don't understand color psychology and all that. So for now, rely on the LUTs, do the basics here and there, move a little bit the shadows and the highlights and the colors, and actually this looks pretty nice as well. And we did this manually, so you see how easy it is to do it manually as well. And yeah, well, this is it. And this was pretty much it, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this. Of course, if you have any further questions about color correcting and grading, or for the course at all, then leave them in the questions and answer part of the Udemy course. I'm here open to wait for you, and I will be waiting for your projects. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna show you how to export and how to upload this video, this final video. But what I'll do is I'll record myself explaining very quickly and fastly, I don't know, a 20-25 second edit for maybe Instagram Reels or something like this, so that you can follow along, okay? And we do this together just to see how I edit, or how I would edit this. Okay? So nothing else to say, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this section. Bye bye.